Welcome. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome everyone. For those of you that is new to the community, new to the channel, my name is Miss Penny. I'm an author, an intuitive tarot card reader, hoodoo practitioner, and mentor, and an author of about 4 books. And I've been doing this for over 10 years now. Those of you that rock with me have probably followed me a little while on my journey as I developed my relationship with my ancestors. So I've been doing this for a little while now. I've been a reader for over 20 years. So I have a pretty good experience in all of this. I don't know everything, but I know enough to get you going and for you to be confident in your own practice. Today we're going to talk about spiritual warfare with no further ado. Okay, so if you feel, and I think a lot of people miss this part when they get into a spiritual practice, especially hoodoo, because we have a lot of people out here showing us spells and things like that. And we think that is hoodoo, but that is not a hoodoo. Okay, that's just what they is. They showing you spells and all that because you do not. A lot of people do not understand the practice, and I think the most important thing when they jump into a spiritual practice, so a lot of people because the spells and stuff the way it's being promoted here, it's not your fault. It's being promoted here like that is not a practice like that, and it is not spiritual, but it is totally spiritual. And two, you need to understand spiritual warfare before you pick up your practice. Because I see a lot of people that get in here and they start picking hoodoo up, and you think it's just magic. But magic is spiritual. We work with energies, we work with spirits over here. This is not just a spell. These are just not mindless spells that you're doing. They're connected with energies, spiritual energies. And if you don't understand spiritual warfare, when you get in here and you start seeing it around your practice and you think it's uh some people take it and they get afraid and they run instead of doing the cleansing work and the spiritual work they need to keep themselves protected during a spiritual warfare. And you're going to see it. Okay, it's going to, I can't, that's why we're having this conversation because it's important. Because you will find when you start doing the work and you start dispelling a lot of that negativity and false beliefs and false programming out of you, you will run into spiritual warfare. I expect that because that means that you're doing it right. If everything is going smooth and things like that, you know, I have to have you look at your practice again. But you're going to go into that as you begin to ascend in consciousness and mind and spirit. You're going to run into that. Be expecting spiritual warfare. And that's why we're having this conversation so you'll know what it looks like. It's not always spooky. It doesn't mean that somebody, is got a hex on you, not always. But when you start ascending in consciousness, you will go into other spiritual warfare with other lower vibrational beings or energies or spirits. Many spiritual traditions teach that spiritual warfare is largely a battle involving the mind, emotions, perception, and choices. That's where it's going to go at. That spiritual warfare is the battle of your mind. That's what it is. The struggle is often less about dramatic external forces and more about what influences your thoughts, beliefs, reactions, and behavior. This idea is particularly relevant when discussing generational trauma. If a person grows up surrounded by fear, scarcity, abuse, addiction, or unhealthy relationship patterns, those experiences will often create mental emotional programming that continue to long after the original circumstances have passed. So a lot of us too, because we are Black Americans, and this is because hoodoo is a closed practice, so I have to address my community. you have to understand that you were born into spiritual warfare. We're living in an environment where we're born into spiritual warfare. Get that in your mind. There's always been a war on our mind. And we have, and doing spiritual warfare, we have to stay grounded and keep our peace of mind. And we're fighting to get our mind back. Okay, with all these false programmings and things like that. That is spiritual warfare. That is spiritual warfare. Okay, you're already in it. This was one reason why shadow work is important. I don't want to jump ahead. Yeah. Hi, how you doing, DD Alchemy? This is one reason why shadow work is so important. If a person does not understand their own wounds, triggers, fears, and unconscious patterns, they can be easily manipulated by circumstances or by people who know how to exploit those vulnerabilities. Okay, you're still going. We're in a sense we're still in that programming, born into that spiritual warfare that our ancestors was fighting. This is the reason why hoodoo was created. Hoodoo was created for spiritual warfare. Okay? Unfair treatment. That's what it was born for. So if you don't understand why you're going into spiritual warfare because you think you're safe because you're doing magic spells and you don't understand the practice, you're not cleansing or protecting, then you don't understand the practice. It was born out of spiritual warfare. So don't get over here and think that you're going to be untouchable. When you start to ascend in your consciousness, you make those other spirits, lower vibrational energies upset with you because they no longer can feed off you. In many ancestral healing traditions, the goal is not merely to fight against something external. The goal is to become conscious of what is operating within you. If you know how it is affecting you, how you is acting it out, or how it's showing up for you, you start eliminating a lot of that stuff that's it within you. That's why we're doing the shadow work. We're seeing how we're participating in it too. Because at some point you're participating in it. And when you stop participating in it, that's when you'll go into spiritual warfare, and it can look at like a variety of things, which what we're going to talk about that too. The greatest victory is often not defeating an outside enemy. It is recognizing the inherited wounds, limiting beliefs, unhealthy attachments, and destructive patterns that have been running your life and choosing to transform them. Because right now you got somebody else telling you what to do. Okay, you're not really using your own sovereignty here. We're up under a lot of uh, misleading programs. And once you start getting your mind right and start looking at these things, you start pulling back. That's when you'll see these things. You'll see it with yourself. It's unbelievable when you do see it, but you'll see these things try to get you back in the program and get you back in your old role, your old you, just so they can feed. And you got poor boundaries when you're not speaking up for yourself. You got to, you just have all these limiting beliefs. The people that you are around, family, friends, and all of them, they sometimes they feel uncomfortable when you're not in the program. Okay, one of the biggest mistakes people make on the beginning of their spiritual practice is rushing into spells, divination, and spirit communication before establishing a strong foundation of cleansing, protection, healing, and discernment. Being unfocused and confused during spiritual quests opens the doors for negative entities to attempt to trick or seduce people into the following. Okay. If you're not right, that's why I tell people don't jump in the conjure before doing this work, because if you jump in the conjure spiritual communication trying to work with spirits and you haven't put enough light in you, you haven't did enough healing, you can find yourself subjective to a lot of those spirits and you will be in a pact or a contract. We've had this conversation, but for those of you that are new in the community, welcome to our hoodoo community. We're having this conversation again because I want to be very clear. And water is the first element you're going to be working with. You're going to be working with water a lot. It's going to be helping you do a lot of cleansing in your practice. And you might be working with various types of water. You'll be working with water a lot in your practice. So a lot of cleansing will be going on. Cleansing and protection is not optional. It is the first order of business. Before we seek power, we must seek healing. Before we seek messages from spirit, we must develop discernment. What spirit are you talking to? And a lot of us too, because we live in an environment, I can say for myself, no one in school taught us about emotional and mental health. They talk about your body, the physical PE and all that stuff, but nobody is talking about your emotional and mental health. And so there's a lot of that. So if your mental health is not being addressed, you don't know anything about that, you don't know have any emotional intelligence, then you're going to be stagnated in that. And you see a lot of that going on in the environment that we're especially over there in America. You see a lot of stagnation going on with mental health and emotional intelligence. Nobody is teaching it. We got a lot of people that think that they're adults and they're really children because we didn't have the time. But, they don't promote that over there. Look at what you see in front of you. They don't promote emotional intelligence and mental health. In fact, they do the total opposite. Okay, your mind is always you always been in spiritual warfare. You just didn't want to see it. You're already in it. Now you're dispelling it, separating yourself totally from it in mind and spirit. Okay. Before we seek manifestation, we must understand what is operating within us and around us. Everything in this world has a balance of both positive and negative influences. But often, when we encounter negative energies, negative behaviors, and others or negative forces, it leads to a downward spiral of negative event following another. And when this happens, you'll see people say, "I had a reading like this with this person, and she was experiencing the same thing. Every time she got ready to cleanse and do a spiritual bath, something came up. She fell asleep. She just was not consistent. She get, and she distract herself from doing her own work. So she was, it's crazy, but she was sabotaging herself. And I told her that. I mean, even her whole reading, the way it began with her self sabotaging the time and all that. I was like, oh my God. And when she was so crossed up, when I would tell her something, she would cross it up, and I'm like, "No, you're doing this again." Like, why? When I asked her why she was doing it, she was oblivious. I said, "You need to get to a spiritual bath." And even when I told her that, she said, "Oh, she was making up excuses of why she might have trouble taking a spiritual bath." And I was like, "Oh my gosh." You'll see that come up. You think it's other people uh that's got something on you. Sometime it be ourselves and we're not unaware of it until we start doing this work. And she knew that it was a problem. You know what I'm saying? She knew it was a problem. And I gave, of course, as the practitioner I am, spiritual advisor, I gave her some things that would help her on her journey, some things that would help move her. But yeah, you'll see that. That's spiritual warfare. Some people, you think that it's going to be another person that's preventing you on your spiritual journey. Sometimes it begins with you because you won't sit down somewhere and be quiet because you are filled with trauma and wounds. You can't sit down and be quiet. You're scared of your emotions. You're scared to feel. And those are the very things that you need in your magic. And if you're scared to feel your own feelings, you're scared to talk about and articulate your own feelings, again, you're not going to get far. And the only way you're going to mature and shift into a God consciousness if you're able to articulate those feelings and apply them in a way that will grow you. That's transmutation. That's transformation. The transformation has to happen. But you'll see that going, because once you experience one negative things, those things will start to pile up. And you would think somebody jinx you. But really it's sometimes it's us attracting negative energies towards us. It's just that simple. It's just that easy. That's why we have to continually to speak life and positivity over ourselves, because there's a lot of contrast. A lot of people call it negativity, but it's contrast as well. I like to call it contrast. I think negativity make it seem like it's bad or good. No, you're always against contrast as well. But you're born into spiritual warfare. You gonna have it. You gonna see it. Okay. It begins with something not going the way we expected, following initial unpleasant results, a trickle down effect. Everything else is going wrong as well, unless we have a normally happy life to return to with people or events that bring pleasure to break out of all the negativity hanging around. We will continue the downward slope in which we absolutely nothing goes as planned. Okay, you'll meet some people like that. They don't know how to generate their own, again, be able to pour into yourself, have that regimen already put up. When that starts happening, you already have a ritual and everything in order to get yourself out of that funk, whether it be music, go ahead and do your cleansing, but that will happen. How you doing, Deborah? B74. Cleansing is the most important thing. And how many days you do cleanse, that matters as well. But I get into that more in our community when it comes to this, because you're going to have to cleanse for a while to get this stuff up off of you, especially if you're a beginner and you know you've been around a lot of sticky, icky people. Then you're going to be doing a lot of cleansing, because people come with spirits. Believe me, they come with spirits. Okay, I just experienced this. I had experience with this uh with a loved one, and them spirits was attacking me. They came with her. Those spirits that was what was with her, again, they were attacking me in my dream. But some people come with these spirits now, and you might have your own when you get to looking at yourself and looking at what you do and really become conscious of yourself. Your self-awareness start to grow. You'll probably see where you've been carrying some up too, and you got to kick them out of there. Okay, we can get immersed in negativity, which is in turn attracts more of the same. And arguments are the same way. Often we argue with one person, it will then seem as if everybody wants to take a jab at us. There was a girl here on TikTok. Uh, People just bullied her and bullied her and bullied her, and she unalived herself. And people, people think this is cute, but you are under the influence of these spirits, just like this woman got jumped on by all these children. These spirits working through these people, like it was just crazy. Why would you jump on this woman and her children? So you're going to see that what you're seeing is these spirits operating through unconscious people, and we have normalized these type of behaviors. I know what you think you're going to see. You think you're going to see some goose and goblins and all that. Not always. These spirits talk to you telepathically. So they influence you telepathically with thoughts. And when you give them attention, that gives them the opportunity to feed. I have to make this simple for you guys. Because when you start your divination and when you start working with angels, a lot of even with your ancestors, you're going to have telepathic communication. You will start feeling, they'll have you feel certain things to really understand what they're saying. This is how these spirits operate. And because we don't fully understand that, we can get caught up in the mix of this spiritual warfare. Okay, the reality is that there's something wrong with us because we are the ones who have gotten immersed in the invisible flood of aggressive negativity. With all these unfavorable vibrations collecting around us, others will see us as the source of the threat. Their instinctive response may be to fight as a form of protection. The end result is that even more aggressive negativity soon surround us. So that's why it's good to keep yourself cleansed, to getting that stuff off you. If you feeling like that, start your cleansing. You might have to do it for a while, a couple of days, more than 3 days. I know that. Okay, and I would be doing it during a waning moon, or start it on a full moon when the moon is going dark. Okay. Negative forces can affect us in many ways, ranging from wild potencies, such as feeling drained or having bad luck, depression. Depression is the biggest thing that they telling you that this is a mental illness. And I'm telling you, because they trying to keep psychology and spirituality separate. You cannot. These are these oppressive spirits on people. They know exactly what this is. Okay. And anybody that comes to me and they say, "Hey, I got bipolar or I got depression," I tell them, "Keep taking your medicine, but put this on top of it and see how you feel." I don't want you to stop doing what your doctor tell you to do, but I do want you to add this component to it, because it ain't gonna do you no good to take a physical approach and you ain't taking no spiritual approach, because all this stuff started spiritually before it even set up in your body like this. I have to break this down to people so you understand what you're looking at. Our ancestors was very aware of their environment. You started really understand why hoodoo was created. Even when I think one of the studies that we look up, I think the Conjuring of America and working the root, I think it's Working the Root by Catherine Buzzard. She's very clear that, hey, hoodoo, hey, it was born out of something ugly. It was for self defense, because we were living in a spiritually, mentally, physically violent environment. Okay, so look at your depression, look at your sadness, look at your rage. Any dysfunctional behaviors is a form of spiritual attack. It's something that you're carrying, and some of these patterns would be in our family as well. And I think it's very unfortunate when, and it happens. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. You're going to see, and this happened to the prophets too. The prophets were spiritually gang stalked. These spirits was working through the people in the community. Do you think those prophets couldn't stay there because they saw what was going on with those people? Okay, and when the prophets would call it out, there would be some of them spiritually gang stalked by these spirits working through these people. The same thing with this story of Jesus. These spirits will be operating through these people. Very rarely will you're going to see something spooky. Not going to say it won't happen, but very rarely. But you will have some eerie experiences when you start being spiritually gang stalked and you go under spiritual attack, because they seem to say some of the same things. It's almost like a hive mind. It reminds you of the Matrix. It's like they turn and they don't even realize they're so unconscious. Now you've already people call them NPCs. They say these people don't have a conscience. They don't think about what they do. They just be doing it. They don't have any inner voice. So it would be easy to, control someone who don't have their own inner voice. These are the things, that y'all call them NPCs, but again, it's some of the same thing. You can see the similarities here. Okay. Many people have no idea what spiritual warfare actually looks like, because they have been taught to imagine it is something dramatic, supernatural, frightening. In reality, spiritual warfare often shows up through everyday experiences, relationships, and patterns that have become normalized within our families and communities. There's a lot of another good example is people have, this might make some people upset, but I'm sorry, but you have normalized hexing people. What did they call NPC? I don't know what it called. I don't know what it's called for a non something, non something. something character, no, something non something character, something like that. But that's what they call them. Okay, but we have normalized these behaviors, especially the ones that's in our spiritual community. Even the spiritual community has has become tainted with that because now people are like the Hicks people. Do you understand that you were born into spiritual warfare? All of us as people of color, we are literally, these people are hexing us every day. Now you gonna get mad, at somebody that look like you that suffer from the same trauma, and you just gonna just do that? Are you asking for guidance for you even doing that? There's a very popular video on here. This person is saying, "I just hex everybody, and it brings me abundance and prosperity when I hex people." That video got a whole bunch of views too here on TikTok. I said, people not seeing what I'm seeing when she say this. Are they seeing her? Your practice is built on hexing people. People was loving that video too. They was loving that video. They did not see the red flags in that video. This person is telling you hexing and ruining people's lives and disrupting their spiritual energy is bringing her abundance and prosperity. You think about that for a minute. Hexing other people, ruining their lives. Yeah, non-playing character. Okay. And they love, a lot of people love that video. This is the part they love. You get so many. I want you to, pay attention and sit back because I just observe. I observe this reality and how it's always trying to drain people energy and manipulate them, and how easily people fall for it. They are so bamboozled for it. It's very concerning when you see it, but people love that video. I said, you don't understand what she just said, but she fixed that up to where it sounds like it's good, but that's not good, you guys. What is she doing with this hexing and stuff where she's made that the foundation of her practice? That's what she's telling you. She's telling you hexing and jacking up other people's lives. She's made that the foundation of their practice. Some of them say, oh, I had a dream about you and I'm going to hex you. But does the dream mean you need to hex them? Did you ask your ancestors? Is that what you need to do? Or that's something that you came up with? Be careful out here, people. Be careful. That's crazy. I don't have TikTok. The money. Yes, a lot of people are gullible. You don't understand what that person just told you. And you gonna follow their spiritual guidance on hexing people? Like, what are you doing? You crossing yourself up. That's what's gonna happen there because you don't understand the practice and you don't know who you need to be hexing. We weren't hexing each other as much as we was doing just that's not we don't even do that. We get justice for what was happening to us, what people was doing to us. And we was using this work to help our community, not hurt our community. But now these days, people are using it to hurt our community. And what you are doing when you're doing this, you're just putting blocking it up the bloodline more and more with that, giving us more work to do with the raggedy stuff doing that. That's all you're doing. Making it worse. You ain't learned nothing. And you're messing your own bloodline up doing that. Because if you was working with elevated ancestors, you won't, I'm not gonna say you ain't gonna have to do that work, but you won't have to do it as much as y'all doing it and talking about it and bragging about it. Because when you go up in there and do that justice work, you're supposed to go in there with humility and forgiveness that you even got to do this work. You have to do it because this person is ragged. If you've asked them several times not to do that, but now you got to get justice because they just raggedy. You don't even want to do it because you already know when you open your mouth what's gonna happen. You already know you finna lay them down. You don't even want to do it like that because you already know what's finna happen to them. You don't even go. You don't want to talk about nobody with that about their work. And then when you get done with it, you have to take a whole cleansing. You might have to cleanse, depending on the heaviness of the work that you had to do. You might have to cleanse for a couple of days and ask for forgiveness after that. That you even had to do that to them. But see, I know you ain't doing that because you're too eager. You too, you know, you come here and want to brag about it too much. You like doing that. So what spirit are you working with? Because we work with spirits when we put our hand on this work. These energies take a hold to us. They've already told you whatever mindset that you're in, you're going to be attracting these intelligences. So if you know how you going in there, and even in our resources, again, in the way it is done, you go in there with forgiveness because you don't want to have to do that work. But somebody done force your hand because they want to be raggedy. So now you got to go in there and get some justice because they just ain't going to do the right thing. Okay. And you know what you're doing. You already know what you're doing. And you already know what's going to happen to them. You really you want to keep that to yourself. You don't want to brag about that. Okay. Too many people bragging about that. Like that is a flex. No, how many people did you heal? Let's talk about people that you have helped heal. That's the flex. The flex is how many people have you helped heal? Heal their life, their mind. How many people? Let's talk about that. How many people are you helping them gain a foundation in their practice, in their spiritual journey? How many people? Let's talk. That's the flex. I don't want to hear about how many people you can jack up their lives and stuff. Again, you seeing this kind of energy come in there. Okay, I have trust issues around practice. I don't know who to believe and even help me protect myself and my family without having some type of repercussions on me. I'm not trying to hurt anyone, but I'm definitely one to be diligent about my spiritual health. That's right. And keeping yourself cleansed because there's certain things, I know working with my elevated ancestors, it's certain things they won't let me do. That's why I said, what kind of ancestors y'all working with that's letting y'all do this raggedy stuff? It's certain things they won't let me do. I can't do it. They will not let me put raggedy stuff on my table. They will not allow me to ill advise people and mishandle them. They will not, you know, they will not let me gossip about, other people and be all involved in that. They will not allow me to be overcritical and judgmental of other people. They will not allow me. It's certain things I got to do to keep my table clean so my work will move. So I don't be crossing myself up. If I think I'm finna do something, they be like, hey, you probably need to slow down on that before you open your mouth. Be quiet. Maybe you need to be quiet. Don't talk on that. Just be quiet. It may look interesting, but you don't got nothing to say about it. Okay? So, really pay attention to what you're seeing in here because I'm really seeing it in the community as well. Illness, whether physical or emotional, is a noteworthy example of negativity and can will and draw in more of the same unfavorable energies and worsen an initial condition. Now, when you know someone is ill like that, again, that's why you see a lot of cancer patients. When someone is ill like that, they try to surround themselves with positivity. Yeah, maybe it is. You did so I can. Maybe that it's the more conscious, but my ancestors they just won't let me do it. Uh-uh. And then because the spirit again, when we start to look at ourselves, and looking at other people as well. When you understand the human mind and spiritual warfare, and you understand these spiritual attributes such as mercy, grace, compassion, and kindness, these are the very things that you're going to need to heal yourself. So you kind of slow down a little bit. You don't be too eager to be trying to hex anybody when you have done enough self-reflection. So when you're looking at these illnesses already, they're going to draw negativity to you. Okay? The best thing that you can do is start uh putting more positivity in your life to combat that. Positivity, 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 because they seem to accumulate so fast, these energies, bacteria, whatever they want, they seem to accumulate really, really fast. And they can hit you all at once, especially if you're bombarded by a lot of negative, intrusive thoughts. If you are ruminating a lot in your mind, somebody, and that happens to me. It happens to me. I have to talk it out and write it out, and then I have to sit with the angel to help me transmute it and look at it a way where it'll grow me, so I won't give it that much power. But this will happen. Okay, when you get intrusive thoughts, you get this recurring negative thoughts and things like that. Do not dismiss it. It be sometimes it be these spirits, and sometimes it would drive people to do impulsive things. Your guides or ancestors, I dare you, pop the back of your head. Your guys and ancestors jack you up. I mean, they get me together. I was telling somebody the other day. I got upset with my ancestors, and they got me together real quick. They let me know real quick, hey, 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 we here. Don't play with us because we can stop this whenever we want to. But yeah, they get me together real quick. I can't get away with things. You see some either people, that's to say ignorant is bliss. When you don't know no better, you can't do no better. But once your ancestors show you something, some people can get away with something and you think you can get away with it. Not with me. And I'd be mad. I'd be like, how the hell they get away with it? And I can't get away with it. And my answer is because you know better. The hell? You know better. Why would you even do that when we taught you better? They don't know no better. And when you didn't know any better, we had grace and mercy and stuff for you too, and compassion for you too. That's what they living off of. You not living off that because you know better. Okay? You already had that. We don't do no. You already when you know better, you do better. And you can't not know because you know. So they held you to a higher standard. Okay, they hold you to a higher standard, and when you do the right thing, blessings just flow. They just hold you to a higher standard. uh and I tell people when I see that come up with their ancestors, because this come up with some people and their ancestors, and I have to tell them, and this is my nice way of holding their hand while I tell them this. It's hard as hell doing the right thing, but when you keep doing it, it become normal. So you probably did. I'm not gonna say it's gonna be easy. It's gonna be hard as hell to do the right thing. It's not easy. It is not easy. Okay, it's not easy, but it's very rewarding. You're gonna be proud of yourself when you do it. Okay, and your elevated ancestors, they require that because you're talking about ancestors that were saints. Many of them was deified. And when I see the ancestors, when they show up to me, they have an angelic quality to them, a very high, when I'm dealing with the elevated ancestors, and most of the ancestors that I deal with, that I work with, they're great mothers. A lot of feminine, great mothers. Now we talked about this a lot in Conjuring of America when we talk about hoodoo and where it comes from and who holds the sacred knowledge. But they require they don't play with me. Okay? They just don't. And so I have to come here and be truthful, and they just don't like raggedy stuff. And if you're working with elevated ancestors, you know, you probably having the same experience because they just don't like messy stuff. and they don't want you to be a part of it. They want you to stay clean. So when you get ready to do your work, you ain't dirty. You ain't got a lot of mud and stuff on you. Okay? Only makes you that much of a better person. Self awareness is invaluable. Yes. Okay? It don't matter what other people is doing. And see, that's the thing too. You'll get with these things. And this what gets it normalized. Well, so and so do it, I can do it. I used to tell my kids, I don't care what them folks do at their house. We don't do that here. That's not my house. I don't do that here. So we're not doing it here. I don't care if everybody's doing it. It doesn't make it right. I don't care if everybody do. They made not liking dark skinned people normal. Is that right? It's a lot of people like doing that. They like practicing racism. Do it, make it right, cause all them doing it. Okay, you seeing a lot of that, and then you seeing a lot of that. Okay, you're doing it because everybody else is doing it. These consequences produce a vicious cycle of emotional distress, generating further physiological injuries. When the body, mind veer away from balance, it damages spiritual well being. The victims are now attracting and being surrounded by more negative forces. Morals, integrity, good character is important to me. So I would let my guys put into any sticky situation if they got to feeling froggy. Yeah, I mean, protect yourself at all times, because I mean, people just want to hit you, do something to you just because you look a certain way, because you talk a certain way. They love your energy. You have attractive energy, so now they want to take that away from you. It's crazy how and when you're seeing this, you're seeing a lack of emotional. There's emotional stagnation going on. There's a lot of immaturity going on there. Those people need to do shadow work. They need to heal. Ain't nowhere in the where your ancestors told you to do that. They want you to get somewhere and sit down and be quiet. Hush your mouth. Look at yourself. Stop pointing fingers. Stop competing. That's the problem. What you competing with? Ain't nobody like you, and you ain't like them, and we ain't like each other. All of us got our own lane. And that's what I see what's going on here. Now you done made this star something beautiful look raggedy because you done took because you won't get nowhere in heal. Now you making this and then you want to commercialize it and make petty and stuff looking cute. And it's not. It's ugly. Okay? I just gotta keep it real. Your ancestors want you to get somewhere and sit down and be quiet. Okay? When the body and mind veer away from balance, it damages your whole spiritual well being. So, the best thing you do if you're staying in a dysfunctional environment, the best thing you can do is keep yourself clean. Start cleansing and protecting your energy, speaking life and affirmations over yourself. Okay? Getting up under, you know, like if you're in our community, we definitely get you to working with angels, because we want you to raise your consciousness and start ascending and getting away from all that contrast, because we want to see positive shifts in our life. Observe, not speak, listen to learn, and not be reactive. Yep. And it takes practice doing this. I don't expect you to do it perfectly the first time, but you definitely, that's what needs to happen here, because no one taught us good emotional regulation. No one really taught us about mental health. And so we have to educate ourselves about this. And these are very important spiritual attributes that you're going to need, because this is how spirits communicate with you telepathically. And if you've been having a lot of negative, impulsive, intrusive thoughts, then you are distorting your spiritual communicator, your mind, your broadcaster. It's got a lot of static in it, and we got to get it out of there. Okay, especially if you can easily be emotionally manipulated too. Our mind has got to be stronger than our emotions, so we have to work on that. Okay, and then observe the emotions, learn how to observe what emotion is coming up and how to articulate that. what comes to mind when that emotion do come up and question why it's there. We have to slow down enough to do that. Okay, exactly, not the black community. We're working on it. Not a lot of people is being like that because again, our community, you got somebody who's been holding you back. You're living in an environment that loves ignorance, and it keeps the not just our community ignorant. It keeps the whole society over there ignorant. Okay, it does. Especially when we get into skin color. You don't like me because I'm this skin color. What everybody started off looking like this. So what's the matter with you? If I wouldn't hear it, you wouldn't exist. You sound stupid. If it wasn't nobody on this planet looking like me, no human would be here. So let's just cut it out. Stop playing with me. I know who I am. Now you got a problem because you jealous. That's how I take it with them people. You jealous. That's what that is. And you keep it going on. You obsessed with me. The whole world is obsessed with our culture, the way we walk, the way we talk, our magic and all that. That's what that is. That's a whole spiritual warfare on you. You don't even know why. They want to talk like you. They want to rap like you, and then tell you that ain't your stuff that they done stole. It's crazy. Everybody want to do, but you say you ain't got we ain't got no power. We ain't got no magic. But every time we turn around, you're trying to look and talk and act like us. So we ain't got no power. We ain't got nothing. Why you trying to be like us? It's always been spiritual warfare on you. And the sooner that you realize that, the better off you're gonna be. You'll know how to protect yourself and won't find yourself, uh, sucked into a cult or anything. Because you could talk about that even with Nature Boy. A lot of people go for that cult like stuff. That even when that boy got toxic, they stayed in there. Why? Because most people minds function like that. That's why it's so easy for people to get into these cults and stuff like that. And some of these spiritual practitioners, and I have to say this again, if it's coming from a man and you already made your biggest mistake following a man. How he can tell you anything? He do not birth children. I got to keep telling people telling people that. Why would you think he know everything? He don't birth children. I don't want him telling me anything. He come from me. That's the first problem right there. But you love to follow that type of stuff. And then you wonder why, oh my God, they found themselves in the cult. Because this is the type of stuff, okay? That's the programming. You think it's gonna be no. I know a lot of people don't want to hear that, but they have that. We even talk about that in hoodoo. It's divine feminine. That's your biggest mistake. It's following the man hanging on to every man. He the reason why we in this mess. That so-called made up masculinity. He the reason why we in here. It ain't gonna be no man that fix it. It's gonna be a woman that fix it. And if you're gonna be listening to anybody, you need to be listening to what women are saying. They are the ones who birthed in children. They're the reason why humans are here on this planet. So why would you be listening to a man? The man is only using the labor and energy of the people because it benefits this false reality of him being in charge. People fall for it every time. Every time they fall for it. And they would, and I have to tell these men, and you see them get promoted on podcasts. Some of these men be raggedy too. They get promoted and people follow, hang on that up every word. And then you're disappointed and upset when it turns out to be a monstrous. Why would that surprise you? That's the reason why we're in this mess. And you're surprised because they're monstrous. And you listen to somebody who don't birth children, that don't give birth to children, that's not that don't birth humans. And you think they got all the answers. It just make sense. Okay? Rest of her equal parts masculine, feminine in each of us. Okay, make that make sense. It don't make sense to me. Why would he know? He wouldn't know. Mothers, mothers are that's a different type of role. Okay, we're counselors, we're doctors, we're therapists. You wear a lot of roles with that. He haven't had that type of wisdom and experience. We have wisdom and experience. We're actually there with with the human. We actually know how the mind work, how the body work. We actually are doing that. Not many of them are doing that. Why would you think he know the answer? That puzzles me every time. Another thing that puzzles me is when you see some of their comedy is around women, and women, I have to tell you, if you weren't powerful, how come they didn't have to act like you to be funny? They have to act like you to be funny. They got to put on a dress or act like you. That's funny to them. They find that amusing. So they already letting you know where your power is. You know, they're letting you know where your power is. So it's slowing down and looking at some of these programs because you're seeing them in your right there in your face. Okay. Another thing, we're gonna go back to your mind. Your mind has got to be right. Now, a lot of us, have you ever seen some of those paintings with deities or Jesus on there? And you see this the depiction of lights around their head, like it's lit up. You see this in some angel photos too. You see like this halo around their heads. Why they got that there? Why do they have these halos around their head? Because that's an indication that they letting you know they have purified their thoughts. They're only attracting higher intelligences. You'll see this another depiction of this. It's this ancient pictures with Jesus and the Holocaust, and all of them seem to have this little fire above their head, showing that there has been some enlightenment and ascension going on there. That's what needs to happen. Right now, you're being bombarded by a lot of darker other forces that's manipulating your thoughts. Why you think monks and you have these Tibetan monks and uh some of these people meditating like this. Why you think they can access their chi very well? They can access their magic very well because they've taken the time to purify this. Okay? They know how that looks. I was just looking at Jet Li and Jackie Chan. I love looking at the some of the Asians celebrities. And it's very interesting listening to both of them because to them, they did what they did and then they went back into mindfulness. And Jet Li was explaining that mindfulness. And he was looking more at how much money he had made, but all the things he learned, uh, all the things he learned that gave him experience and wisdom in his life. That was rewarding for him. So it's amazing how they go into a sort of mindfulness and and they slow life down a lot. Okay. It seems like I just like, oh, that is so neat because like he has his priorities in order. Like he knows to stay grounded in who he is. He knows how to come home to self. He doesn't get caught up. You can clearly see he doesn't get caught up in a lot of the stuff, a lot of the rigmarole. But again, the more you can purify your thoughts and control your thinking and not being bothered by intrusive thoughts and let people manipulate your mind, the better self mastery you're going to get. Access there, what? I agree. I don't understand what you said you did, so I can access there, what? Meditation is hard. Uh, well. It is hard. You can start with 5 minutes and then work your way up. It's become very addictive to me because I've using it most time when people are having trouble with meditation. It's because you're in survival mode, and so the best thing to do is go in and practice breath work for 5 minutes. If you can focus on your breath for 5 minutes and calm your mind down, take baby steps. Or sometimes people just go on a walk. It'll send them into a meditative state in nature. So again, too, finding out what sends your mind into a meditative state. You automatically go into a meditative state sometime when we're driving the car. You go home and you wonder, "Well, how the hell I get home?" Your body automatically drove home, but your mind was somewhere else. That's a meditative state. You're already doing it when you watch TV. That's why a lot of our ancestors didn't like TV. They said it ruined the mind. Um, but you already going when you're on social media. Again, already going into a meditative state. But this time we need to go inside of our mind. Okay. You said the Chinese access something. Oh, chi. They're chi. They're ashe. What we call ashe. Okay. So again, slowing it down and doing the breath work, really getting into your mind, calming your mind. But most times, if you know you're having this type of trouble, that means that you might be in survival mode. I see it all the time when people say, "I ain't got time," but you want to do magic though. Make it make sense. Don't be coming to me with that. It don't make sense what you're saying. You're not thinking about what you're saying. I ain't got time. I ain't got time to meditate, but I got time to do a spell. What's wrong with you? Make that make sense. And the spell is totally spiritual. Now, I already told you, ain't nobody doing no real magic without working with no spirit. And then to be able to work with a spirit, you got to be able to communicate with that spirit and get messages from spirit. But if your mind and stuff is all foggy and messed up and all this stuff, I don't know how well that spell gonna go for you. Hey, Black Magic Mike, I don't know how well it's gonna go for you. Now all this stuff work together. I don't care what you're seeing or hear online with these people. I've been doing this for a long time now. It's been over 10 years. Go back and look at my videos. And it ain't a book that I read that it don't talk about your mind got to be together. They don't talk about this. Not that's why I got to put that ahead of you because people are skipping this part and they showing you spells and some of us are crossing ourselves up and messing ourselves up because these folks ain't even telling us there. And this is the most important part of your practice. You ain't got no good foundation in your practice. You don't know anything about spiritual warfare. You're not going to get far in this. I do a 20-minute meditation right after I wake up in the morning. Yeah, and I'm known to go even longer. The angels just got through talking to me about that the other day. They was like, "Okay, you've been on top of your game. You've been meditating like 2 or 3 times a day." So I was like, "I'm not praying, sorry. You've been doing meditation rituals, you know, with us about 2 or 3 times a day." I was like, "Yeah, because I'm trying to get some stuff done." They like, "Ease up, okay? Ease up. You're good." But yeah, keeping your mind renewed, okay, and speaking life over yourself. That's a part of your daily practice. Saying affirmations over yourself, speaking love into yourself. You're just like a plant. You got to water yourself every day. And folks ain't taught us how to do that. They sitting up there stealing our energy and taking it from us. And sometimes we watering other people's gardens more than we watering our own garden. And then when something happens, it knocks you off balance because you ain't been watering yourself. You ain't nurturing yourself. You don't have any type of spiritual regimen. It puts you in attunement and alignment when something happens. If you believe that your thoughts create your reality, one being self sabotaging. Yeah, Okay, it can happen. Negative and positive forces are equally balanced in our world. Sadly, this concept also applies to people. Good people assume that everyone possesses good qualities. And despite exhibiting inappropriate behaviors, many of us desperately struggle to see the good in everybody. Conversely, the bad ones see good people as pawns, as patsies, and interpret their values and demeanors as a sign of weakness. These people are often predators such as narcissists, sociopaths, thieves, liars, con artists, scammers, abusers, etc. You see a lot of that going on in where you are now, over there in America. You're gonna see a lot of that going on there. That's what you're gonna have to watch out for. That's what you're dealing with. I'm over here inside and I can drop some. I can leave my bags outside of a store. Ain't nobody gonna run off with it. I can drop my wallet and somebody gonna have it for me, and it's gonna still be there. This tells you a lot about the morale where we live in the minds of the people and the spirits that you're dealing with. Okay, and again, these people are out to steal from you. They want to either steal your energy, they want something from you, and you're not going to see this until you start doing your. Can y'all still hear me? Oh, thank you, Angelo Carter. But again, if you're not, you're not set when you start setting boundaries with people and really paying attention to your energy and who's doing what to whom. And sometimes you might find that you are hijacking people energy. Go ahead and document that and how you gonna pull back and start pouring into yourself. Cause some of us are hijacking other people energy. Some of us are working with the spirit of jealousy because we don't want to deal with our own insecurities. And there's really no reason to be jealous or compete with anyone because all of us have our own worth and value and unique qualities. And some of us dealing with that, some of that stuff is in us. And that is the very thing that needs to be pushed out your lineage. And it's probably generational. But a lot of people that don't want to do that, and I want to think a lot of people is well meaning, but the fact of the matter is, some people give into their emotions like this, and they do some horrendous things. And most times we find these people, whether they know it or not, and some are conscious doing it, they're working with these different energies. They're making pacts with spirits. Because to do ongoing hex work and things like that, and like I tell y'all, I don't know anyone in here that is a magical practitioner doing this kind of work that's not working with a spirit, because that's what we're doing over here. You're working with spirits. And if they know what they're doing and they're hexing, at some point they're working with a spirit. So you have to ask, what spirit are they working with? Okay. That's going to be an important question to answer. You think spiritual warfare going to be goblins and all that? No, it's going to be mental, psychological warfare. Spiritual warfare is psychological warfare. There's always been a war on consciousness. There's always been a war on your mind. Do you think jealous and competition starts within sports? We put our children in competitive sports at a young age. I think it. I think it that could have something to do with it. Uh, but it's supposed to be more of a fun thing instead of, the way they're doing it now. It's supposed to be a fun thing. It's not supposed to be, because these things they bring in a lot of, people emotions be running high during some of these competitions. You see people get into fights because of these games and all this kind of stuff, and so we get these other emotions. It brings on other emotions. So we really have to be careful about what we're competing in, what is going on, because healthy competition is great if we're using it to grow. But when we're using it, and we become jealous and all these other feelings start to take hold of us, we have to really pause and look at ourselves. And what I see now is unhealthy competition. Where are we even competing for in the first place? This is not a contest. We're not in a race. Some people compete against you and you're not even in a race, but they're competing with you. And you don't even know they're competing with you. You have no idea. You just mind your own business. You have no idea that these people over here competing with you. And I saw that a lot in my family, but I paid it no attention. I'm like, there's no way they're competing with me because I'm not even competing with them. I'm not even studying them. But they were. Okay. You'll have that sometime. Some people, they don't like you because of your character, because of your energy. They can't steal your essence. Your very essence, the way you carry yourself, the way you talk and all that. People want that. They don't like that, it's crazy. But there's people like that. You know, I, they don't like the way you talk. They don't, how dare you? How can you have all that? They're supposed to have what you have. You have even people, stealing the way people act or talk. You see it all the time. Okay. So that's what spiritual warfare, and pay attention to those things. Okay. Spiritual warfare looks like manipulation. It can look like jealousy. It can look like addiction. It can look like emotional instability, gossip. Gossip is another powerful form of black magic that people discount, especially when you see it in families. That is some powerful, and they don't consider themselves doing black magic, but these are the biggest witches in your family that love gossip and putting their mouth on people. This can take a dark turn. Okay, so you want to be very careful. Watch what you're saying and how you feel after the things that you're saying. You know, and I know when I was participating in gossip, it have you feeling all sticky. Some just don't feel right. And make sure you ain't been around a lot of people, because remember, people come with spirits. Keep this in your mind. Next time you inviting people over to your house and things like that, that's why, I was very leery about letting people come in here when they come in here, because I know they coming with spirits with them. They ain't coming in here by themselves. I know they got some spirits with them. I'm just gonna assume that because I know how these spirits jump in and out of people and use people. Now I got to, watch you, and then I got to cleanse my whole house after you leave, or I got to put something down before you come here, because I don't know what type of spirits you bringing with you. People come with spirits, so have that in your mind. They do. Even you yourself, you got your own spirits that walk with you, and then you got some that are sabotaging you that we need to get rid of. That's why we need to do this work. Some of them are already in our generational line. Some of them are already in our bloodline. You're not going to know that if you're not getting somewhere, sitting down, healing, and observing your thoughts and emotions. Many of us fail to recognize these patterns because we are born into them. We learn them. We adapted to them. We survive through them. Does that mean it was some things, The gossip was in my family. The betrayal in my family. Uh, Lack was in my family. So I can tell you what's in my bloodline because that's what I work on. Okay, and that's what we need to be doing. We be taking an inventory of our life and seeing what we need to do to get in alignment. What's in there? That's why and then when we do see spiritual warfare, we in it. We understand what's going on. We know how to take care of ourselves. We know what we're looking at. Once such predators target their victims, they immediately and massively begin to manipulate, minimize their victims' sense of control. Little by little, they empower themselves, robbing their targets of their self esteem, leaving the victim doubting themselves and fearful, thus forcing them to rely on the predator for a never to be realized redemption or recovery. Especially where you is over there in America, they don't want your mind getting right. They don't want you getting well. Hell, the folks that already said they don't want you going to college. They don't want to teach you nothing. They want you to be as ignorant as possible so they can program you whatever they want to. They can put all sorts of spirits in you. Because that's what's happening there. When somebody, the government and all that, that's why they call it a government governing your mentality. These folks are putting spirits in you. When they make it putting in an economic structure in there that is oppressive to you and it's unhealthy because it is economic abuse, then this is economic warfare. They've already declared war on you. What are you talking about? You're in spiritual warfare right now. You're just being normalized this. You don't know what you're looking at. That's why we got hoodoo. Because it was war on us all the time. You gonna need something spiritual for that raggedy stuff. Okay? They're doing it right now. Instead of doing the entire process, the victim's sense of well being is compromised both emotionally, spiritually, making them vulnerable to further harm wherever the forces are present. Okay, so you were born in spiritual warfare. You've always been in spiritual warfare. You just didn't know it and you didn't know how it looked. As a result, unhealthy behaviors become normal. Mistreatment becomes normal. Chaos becomes normal. Just in full chaos over there with the man wearing a pamper and falling asleep and want to go over here and do stuff to other countries. It's just raggedy. Just traumatizing people more and more. The pale color people think they can call us all kinds of names and not get hit in the mouth. Uh, just a lot of stuff. That's spiritual warfare. And it trips me out because these people, you don't like me because I look like this. This why this is closed too. Because y'all got y'all own, own self reflection to do. And it's got to be horrible to wake up and find out and look at yourself and find out your ancestors are, terrorists. That's what they are. See, we got a different type of work to do. That's why this is closed. We have a different type of work to do. And I know you said, but that's not me. I didn't personally do that. Well, you benefit from it. Get somewhere and sit down and be quiet and go look at yourself. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear about it wasn't me. That was so long ago. I don't want to hear it. We're still dealing with the spiritual, mental, psychological effects of what you're still doing and what you set up. I don't want to hear it. We don't have the liberty of saying it and saying we wasn't here, we weren't slaves. I don't know why they keep treating us like that. We have to do the work and protect ourselves. We don't have the liberty of saying that. Even though we weren't literally slaves like our ancestors, we still inherit these wounds and these stereotypes y'all put on them. Now they're on us. Same thing. So yeah, this is closed. I just had somebody get in my box the other day. I don't care what people is telling you. Hoodoo is not closed. Hoodoo is very close. Because the ancestors that we work with, you cannot. You can't. Some of them don't like you. And they have very good reason why they don't like you. Okay? I don't care what you see in these other places that let you go up in here and do this stuff. That's them. This ain't hoodoo. And we don't care about your money and all this stuff. We don't care about that. It's just closed to you. Respect it. Get somewhere and sit down. Be quiet. You got your own stuff. Okay? I have to tell you that. And so we're born into this stuff. So you're already born into intergenerational trauma. You're already born into spiritual warfare, psychological warfare. It's already on you. And it's in some of your family members. They're toting the program. And some of us are toting the program too. I mean, it's just there. And you're sometimes we don't see it because we are not doing the healing work we need to self-reflect. Okay? Without an idea of why these events are occurring and how to combat them, we lose control. If we don't move past the vulnerability, we would invite support and nurture subsequent occurrences. Some people like it. They love being the victim. They love being the predator. They think that's cool. They love being the bully. They love hexing people. They think that you're, but you have to remember, and when you pick up these ideologies, this type of behavior, they are linked to specific spirits, and at some point they come in contact with these entities. Okay, so you get your mind together. When we are continuously helplessly stricken with undesirable stimuli, it is debilitating and thus promotes weakness and susceptibility to further harm. So making sure you're taking care of yourself, you're keeping monitoring your thoughts. Why you thinking this? You choosing your thoughts. You're not letting your thoughts choose you. And you're not going to see this until you start really doing the shadow work and be like, okay, why I think that? Why did they make me mad? Why am I mad about that? Why am I angry about that? You're not even reacting to the person anymore. You're more doing more introspection, asking yourself what's going on with you. What you trying to tell me? Because there's a lot of information that's going on there when we are triggered or intense emotion come up. Ask yourself, why am I feeling that? You'll start getting answers because all the answers that you need is inside you. It ain't outside nobody else. We need to get this right here, the inside together. Once we get this inside together and we get our birthright back, we get our divinity, our sovereignty back. Oh, now the magic and the conjuring stuff is gonna work because now we're willing our mind and we're willing our emotions. Nobody is controlling that anymore. We're no longer in the programming. What makes the conversation even more important is understanding the history of many of our ancestors. Our ancestors survived 400 years of slavery, racism, segregation, discrimination, violence, displacement, systemic oppression. They experienced unimaginable hardships while trying to protect their families, preserve their traditions, and maintain their humanity. And here you go, you got these predators. They were very successful because they have had many years in trial and error and mastering the art of manipulation. This is how they got in deception. This is how this and they keep doing it. And then they taught us how to be raggedy like that. That's what you're dealing with here. You were born into a spiritual warfare. So it shouldn't surprise you when you start seeing it come up in your family, through your friends, maybe on your job, where you're no longer operating out of these deceptive, manipulative programs. When you start changing the tapes in your head and getting control of yourself. Understand that these people come with spirits. This is why you teach some practitioners too. They already know this. They have an inkling idea. A lot of them don't have a lot of friends because they know being in contact with certain people, they have spirits and energies with them. It can taint your work. It can mess up your life. And I started noticing when when I was younger, certain people I wouldn't be around because I'm like, every time I'm around you, my car get on flat. Like something wrong with you. Every time, I'm with you, something crazy happen. It's the spirits with you. That's just like, for example, it tripped me out. My soon to be ex-husband, he went and got insurance on my car. But the insurance he got on my car, I didn't like it when he said it because he made it very plain to me what kind of insurance I had, and I thought that was peculiar. But he said to me, "Hey, I got insurance on your car. So if you were to total your car out, it's going to pay for that car and then buy you another car." It was something like that, and I was like, I don't like that you said that like that. And then when he started driving my car and chauffeuring us around, he would almost like be in these accidents, or somebody would almost hit him. I thought that was peculiar. I was like, what kind of spirits he operating with? And the guy, my spirit guy said, hey, he really want his own car. He want to total this car out so he can use the money because he want a new truck. That's what this is about. He really want this car to total up. He knows what he's doing. And so when my spirit guys told me that, honey, I went and got my oil, my conjure oil, and I prayed over that car. Yeah, I prayed over the car. I said, no, 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 we're not going to be in no wrecks or nothing like that. And I stopped letting him drive it. I stopped letting him drive it. And I didn't have those problems anymore. But people come with spirits. Now, whether they want to say that or not, they'll give you indication of what's going on with them if you're listening to what they're saying. Now, I have the gift for gab for that. It's just the way my mind works. I'm steady picking up intuitive. Yep. I'm very intuitive when it comes to things. You might not even notice that I'm picking up all sorts of insights. I can give a reading before I open up my cards because I'm listening to you and I'm getting a lot of intuitive messages from you. They let you know who they is. When you become spiritual aware, you cannot dismiss it. And he let me know that's what he wanted. Did he say that outright and to me, no. It's what he said and what he didn't say in his behavior. He ain't have to tell me that. I got it. And my spirit, the ancestors, they put it all together for me. That's what he's trying to do. When I stopped letting him drive, he wasn't happy about that either. No, I don't need you. Mm-mm. No. So you'll know it. You'll see it. Don't dismiss it. And just because he's my husband didn't mean that he wanted the best for me. I could have let that say, no, 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 that's not really what's going on. No, when you see it, that's what that is. Don't dismiss it. And then you're gonna be looking somewhere. My mind told me to do that. Yeah, their intuition told you to do it. Take note. I see it every time. You'll know when these spirits are operating through people because the things that they say. I don't know. I have a knack for that. I have a knack for that. And it started when I was young. My people would have me meet other people and ask me what I thought about them, and I can have a short conversation with you, and I can pretty much, you know, uh, hit some hot points, topics with you, and kind of figure out, what's going on with you. Okay, but listen to people. Sometimes it's not what they say. Sometimes it's louder. It's louder to things that they don't say. They letting you know what it's about. Okay. What's your sign, Miss Penny? I'm a Sag. Yep. I'm a Sagittarius. So if there's just an inner knowing, there's a lot of clear causiness too. Sometimes I just know things. I don't know how I know. It's very, you know, very odd. And I cannot figure that out. Sometimes I just know things. I don't know how I know. It just happens. Okay. And I wrestled with that a long time. But sometimes I just know, and then my mind, the way it works, is a little odd too. So yeah. Okay, so you have to remember that these people are out to psychologically feed off you. They have expertly learned the psychological makeup of people and are readily able to recognize their attributes as well as vulnerabilities. Therefore, these predators know what they can take from us and how to do so based on our weaknesses. Cruel predators show up in various settings determined to succeed without care for others. In numerous situations, implement psychological tactics to make us doubt or question our self-worth. Because when you start looking at them, because what's going to happen here, especially with your family, and if your the ancestors are working with you mighty, you're going to start seeing things in your family, and you're going to start placing boundaries with them, and they're not going to like it. They're going to, for them, because there is no uh knowledge of mental or emotional health, they would chop it up to you being crazy. They're going to say, oh, you're crazy because you're no longer in the program. People that don't want to be in the program are called crazy. They get, and it's easy to tag people with that. Really, the people that's calling you crazy are crazy. That start happening in my family. When I start setting boundaries and not allowing myself to be abused spiritually, emotionally and psychologically and verbally, they called me crazy, but I was the only one going to counseling and building my spiritual practices. I was the only one doing the work, and yet they were calling me crazy. Yeah. And you will see that in therapy too. The person that's going to therapy, if they're going, if they're in a challenging family, they may be the only person in therapy. The person in therapy is not crazy. It's usually the family, the people they're around. The crazy person is only a symptom of the crazy that they have been exposed to. Most of the people that go get counseling and therapy and things like that, if they are coming a dysfunctional family, and you'll see that in people that's rich too. You'll have rich dysfunctional families, and you have children that's woke and they know something wrong with the family, but to them, because they won't go on with the family programming, the family deem them crazy and put them in therapy. And sometimes I tell the therapist what they want them to do and want them to look like when they get done. And you come to find out the person in therapy is totally sane. They're having a spiritual allergic reaction to a toxic environment. That's what it is. You can have an allergic reaction. You'll have people that they've never had a history of bipolar. They never had a history of depression, and they can go up into a dysfunctional relationships or environment, and they begin to have this mental, emotional, allergic reaction to being in a toxic environment. That's what that is. You can't go up in there and be sane. It's affecting you and your mind and spirit, and about to affect your body. This is why too I don't encourage people. I've seen it. Uh, I've seen people go in and take care of their toxic parent. Their toxic parent was abusive, just very ugly to them. And they think they owe their parents something because they're under this false programming that I have to go take care of my parent. Even though that they are abusive and they don't like me, I got to do this. That is a false programming. And I've seen people do that. And what happens is the toxic parent starts sharing the toxic energy with them. How are they doing this? They're going to verbally abuse you, they're going to emotionally abuse you. And before you know it, you're going to start getting sick. You're going to be start getting depressed. You're going to start looking bad, and their life span tends to uh their lifespan tends to increase. They seem to be more energetic the more they can abuse you. Now, when you remove yourself from the of you, if you don't put yourself in there like that, you go ahead and let it go. It'll take its own course because it'll take care of itself. But the minute that you know your parent like this, or you know this person is like that, they are going to be feeding off your life force. That's what's happening there. You can call it whatever you want to, but how does it make you feel when somebody is constantly insulting you, abusing you mentally and emotionally? It is feeding off your life force. It's making you doubt yourself. It's taking away your self esteem. It is literally eating you alive. Okay, that's what I'm dealing with toxic parent. Won't leave my house. That's what they're doing. That's why I don't recommend it. That's why they got nursing homes and places for that. We're not meant, it's a luxury. It is a privilege for us to be able to take care of our parents. It's a privilege for that. We don't owe that to them. We don't owe that to them. We don't owe them anything. Okay? That's a privilege. Okay? And it is a two-way street. And if they're not healthy for us to be around and they threaten our life force like that, then you can't do it. You can't feed them because them things inside of them will want to feed off you. They want to stay alive, especially when the family or parent doesn't want to become self-aware. They don't want to correct the behavior because you got some people that want to be regular like that. And you got some of the flying monkeys say, "Oh, they just like that. They don't mean no harm." Yes, they do. They mean harm. They are harming people's minds and spirits. I had to tell my family that. No, you can't say no anything to me. No, you may not. You may not be fling insults in here like you can abuse me emotionally, emotionally and mentally, and think I'm going. It used to be a time I go along with that, but no, no, ma'am, you cannot. And you need to figure out why you want to do that. That's what started getting me with one of my siblings because I started asking her, why do you do that? Who told you that you can treat me like that? Let's sit down and look at that. Now, every time I brought that up, they scattered. They didn't want to address that question. What made you think you could do that to me? I want to know. Who told you that was okay? But I know who told you because that behavior of treating me like that was normalized in our family. So you thought because my mom was treating me like that, this is just a common way to treat me. And so you think that I'm going to be in that role, you can continue to do that. No, you may not. So let's go back to who told you you can do that? I know I didn't. And when I would address it like that, said, who told you you could do that? I mean, I'm sorry that you would think something like that. Please forgive me that you would think you can do that. But I would like to invite you to ask yourself, where did you get that from? Why do you think you can, treat me that way? I want to know. Okay. They scatter every time because they don't, these spirits, they deal off, they work off ignorance and a lack of emotional intelligence and dysfunction. They don't like that in it. They will become combative. They will get argumentative. They will flee. Some of them will outright want to fight you. And it be about your energy. They mad because you won't let them have your money, you won't let them run over you, you won't let them manipulate. They get mad, they be ready to fight some of them. You see them spirits rise up in them people. And sometimes you see the same spirit in different people, it'll trip you out. And you know it's the same spirit because it's using the same kind of word salad. It's using the same type of phrases. So you know it's the same spirit in a different person. You will see it. You be like, oh my God, this the same spirit in that person. And then when you ask the person why they acting like that, they can't tell you. This is what you gonna see. And some of you are already seeing it in your families. Okay, so they use again, these are oppressors. They're predators, they succeed, and the victim is left lingering psychological trauma that oppresses the minds and spirits, which set up vulnerability to further attacks of the same different nature. Okay, bullying is deliberate and repeated attacks in an attempt to cause harm to those viewed as weaker. Bullies are usually the product of environmental factors such as a strained relationship, poor social skills, because that's what you see now. You got some of these people that's, they think they can come out and just say any old things to black people, and black people ain't gonna hit them in the mouth. Get somewhere and sit down and be quiet. You know we will. Some of us will hit you in your mouth and sit you down. Okay. However, the most severe types of oppressors are those who have psychological disorders of dissociative nature. So, all the psychological disorders that you're seeing as narcissists, sociopath, and all this, these are the names that we have in our mental industry, medical or psychological industry for this. But really, these are these a source of spirits that's running these people's minds. This is the battle of the mind. Everything is mind here. Everybody is needing your attention. They needing your energy. They got to have it. Trauma does not simply disappear because time passes. We're still living under intergenerational trauma. Some of it is in our family with the abuse and all that. There's no way you thought your ancestors, your family is going to be healthy after being around raggedy people. I say this again, for so many years. Did you not think some of them was going to be crazy? They was gonna be violent, that they wasn't gonna be homicidal. You didn't think they was gonna be like that. You lived around crazy people who were terrorists and who always terrorizing you, and you didn't think your family was gonna end up crazy. You didn't think that was gonna impact them. Yeah, expect crazy. You gonna see a lot of them spirits up in your family. That's why we created hoodoo, because we knew that they was dealing with that. The wounds of the generation often become burdens of the next. And now you got these children now, this younger generation, they think they can fight their parents. They don't listen to some of their parents. This I don't know. And then too, a lot of them they don't want to they're not interested in some of them are not interested in education. They're not interested in learning the right thing. They just want to satisfy their feelings. They're going by everything that they feel. If it feel good to them, that's they want to do it. They don't care. They haven't put any thought to how this is going to impact them in the long run. They just thinking about now. And so now we have a lot of children now. This new generation, it's going to be different. You even having some teachers that's saying, "Hey, we can't even educate them because they won't do the work." And you ask them, "Okay, you guys, I went over this lesson with you. What was going on? How come you didn't do it?" And their response is, "We just didn't do it." It's not the dog ate the homework. It's not, the usual excuses that children would give, give a reason why they didn't do their homework or didn't pass the test. No, they're just saying we just didn't do it. And they're comfortable with this. Okay, no parents are enforcing that, teaching them discipline, teaching them how to respect uh their elders or authority figures. They're not teaching that to them. They have nothing, so what is that going to lead us? Because no wisdom is being passed on, only dysfunction is being passed on, and that's been normalizing. Now if you try to reprimand your child, they try to put you in jail. That's why we had a switch for a reason. A switch your behavior. Some about them butt whoopers was getting your mind together. They got into your mind. You know not to be doing that no more. Discipline was needed. Discipline is needed. I'm not saying abuse, but discipline was needed. Certain things you just could not do. Our elders did not let us do. And so a lot of this, instead of this trauma and this ignorance, is getting being passed on, and it's going to damage a lot of the future generation. I remember doing a some work out there at Philander Smith College in Little Rock, and I think she was a counselor out there. I was working with the counselor, and she noticed that a lot of the and it's a HBCU. It's a historical black college, and so she noticed out there that a lot of the new students, they were poor readers. A lot of them was coming from dysfunctional families. A lot of them were having problems developing relationships and things like that. And so she noticed that. And so me and her did some work out there with a lot of those young people. And and she said, one thing that concerned her is the poor reading skills. She was surprised that many of them made it to college because they had very poor reading skills, and she didn't like that because somebody was dropping the ball on fully educating them. And that was back in, maybe that was 2013, maybe 2013, 14. Okay. So that was back then. And and then me working with a lot of them, because we did some goddess work there, some womb work there. And so, and me working with them, um I just, there was recurring issues with fathers, and recurrent issues with dysfunctional family. Okay, that I saw there. So you definitely, with this new generation, it's important that they be aware too. What it, they're going to inherit trauma. We're just going to inherit, especially who we are. You're going to inherit it. It's just what it is. I'm sorry, it's not fair. You're just born in it. Okay, and it doesn't help when people compile it by undermining the way we raise our children. Because we don't raise, y'all raise raggedy children. Y'all raise terrorists. We don't raise terrorists. Now we're raising terrorists now with the way y'all got this set up. Now our children are become terrorists. And our children knew better not to go out there being ragged and stuff like that. But now, what you have now is, now we got to be afraid of these children, because they got us raising our children like they raised theirs. I know you don't look at it like that, but I would invite you to have a seat and look at that. Okay, that's just what it is. You see how some of these children are. You just be like, no, we wouldn't dare do that to our parents, because our parents, you do some of the stuff that these children do, you'd be laid out on the floor somewhere. You better not even think about it. You'd be laid out in the floor somewhere hurt. Okay, there's just certain things we couldn't be do. Okay, this is why the healing work is so important. Many of us are not well because the society we live in is not well. They don't promote wellness. Anything they teach it, they can do the right thing. They have a cure for all these, a lot of these diseases. They can go back to holistic living and all that. They know that stress and work and all that stuff only adds to, our illness. They know that, but they don't care. They know if you're economically stressed and things like that, it shorten your lifespan. It's not the disease that kills people, it's the stress that kills people. It's gonna weaken you. Okay, we live in a world that often rewards dysfunction, celebrates excess, promotes divisions, and normalize behaviors that are spiritually, emotionally, and psychologically unhealthy. You'll see it for yourself. I just seen the spiritualists up there say, I'm petty, so I'm petty. I said, oh my God. And people was loving it. And then you get this, what trips me out with this, because I seen this with, I'm gonna mention her now. I seen that too with Voodoo Bay. I'm just gonna mention the child. You see all the pettiness in there. Y'all been see the folks regular, and then when they blow up on you, when they do something, you clutching your pearls like, oh my God, how did they? Well, they told you who they was. Like the young lady was telling you, she hicks everybody. And that's how she get her abundance prosperity. She just hicks everybody. She just told you what you, and then you would go over there and do some work for her. And then when she make you, you make her mad and she hicks you. Now you surprised. But she just told you what she did. I don't get it. How did you think that you were gonna be different? Okay, these some of these people are telling you what they do. Pay attention. Okay. People are encouraged to suppress their emotions rather than heal them. They are encouraged to react rather than to reflect. Somebody make you feel some type of way, they want to put it in a pot, they want to do all kind of crazy stuff. Instead of saying, okay, what part of me is hurt behind this? Does this deserve my attention? Does this deserve my energy? They are encouraged to compete rather than cooperate. They are encouraged to consume rather than connect. Many toxic behaviors have become so common that people no longer recognize them as harmful. They've normalized it. And you're not going to see it until you start slowing down and looking at yourself and really start disciplining yourself away from a lot of these dysfunctions. And you have to separate yourself from people because some people will feel uncomfortable if you're not doing those things. They're gonna say, "Oh, you think you're better than us?" You got some people too. If you don't participate in some of their regular stuff, oh, you think you better than us because you ain't gonna do this. Well, no, I don't think I'm better than you. I just don't want to do that. I don't like the way I feel when I do that. But if that's what you want to do, you go ahead and do that. I'm just not doing it. You're not gonna be vibrating with those people anymore. And some of us are trauma bonded to people. We have no connection to them at all. We just have a trauma bond. You were never friends with that person in the first place. Okay, y'all just had a trauma bond and y'all decided to hang around each other. And this could be childhood, long life friends. This could even be family members, sisters and brothers. It does not feel good. I'm not gonna say that this is gonna look good and feel good. It's not. And don't be surprised when you go into spiritual warfare. That means that you are ascending. Don't get depressed. Don't get sad. Please don't do that. Now it's time for you to beef up the self care, the self love. Now it's time you must really got some powerful energy if these things that are going into spiritual warfare trying to get after you. The level up must be on the way. They ain't after you because you ain't got no power. They after you because you got some power. Why wouldn't you be in spiritual warfare if you ascended? You gonna be in it. You're already in it. So you might as well prepare. I want you to be prepared when you go on this path for spiritual warfare. Now we've talked about cleansing and protection, and I'm gonna talk about it again next month. We got some new resources for spiritual protection and things on how to spiritual protect yourself. We'll probably do that next month, but I've slowed everything down in our community to give you guys an opportunity to catch up on your reading. And we're doing monthly meetings for you to bring up any discussions you want to or to go over any resources that you want to go over. So that's what we're doing right now. But this, if you're new to our community, slow down before you do anything. Get this together. Get this cleansing and protection. Get this shadow work and healing together before you start doing anything. Because once you start ascending and doing your work, you know, it's not uncommon to be going in spiritual warfare. It will start because those spirits don't want to see you ascend. They don't want to see you rise. They want to feed off you. Okay, this is where spiritual warfare becomes difficult to identify because sometimes the battle is not happening outside of us. Sometimes it's happening within our own programming. You'll see yourself, we be self sabotaging too when we try to control people please, and all this type of stuff. Sometimes we are willing participants in our own demise. We're competing, we're jealous, we got all these insecurities. Sometimes it's us holding the programming too, so we have to really check ourselves and really do some self reflection. Okay. And sometimes it is happening through inherited wounds. A lot of it, the scarcity mindset, crabs in the barrel, all of us fight just competition and all that stuff. Some of us inherited some of that stuff. Not blaming you, not your fault, but it is your responsibility to start dealing with these things. Because if we don't deal with these things, it's so easy for you to be enticed and seduced by another spirit, and you find yourself in a pickle. Don't let these people fool you that's doing hex work and all this stuff. You think it's all beautiful over there. No, it's not. And that's not going to result in something happy. I assure you of that. They're inexperienced and they don't understand what they're doing yet. It's a fad or a trend for them. They can only do that for so long where they're going to have to start working on themselves. I assure you of that. Okay? Anybody making pacts and working like that, it's not going to end well. Okay? You know, sleepless nights, insomnia, uh, can't access any sort of light within themselves. I've seen it. Okay? Sometimes it is happening through beliefs we never stop to question. Many spiritual traditions teach that the lower vibrational energies thrive in environments of fear, chaos, resentment, conflict, addiction, shame, and division. And I know a lot of people, I hear a lot of people say it's so hard to do in America. It's so hard. Oh, it's so hard. And I know it is hard. I can't imagine. I know it's going to be hard, but you're going to have to work even harder in working on keeping yourself elevated and your mind clear there. Okay. You might going to have to turn off the news and ignore and just live in a whole separate world than what they're trying to push up on you. You really gonna have to stay focused on yourself because they have really released a lot of these spirits up on the people when they start inflating prices like this and all these crazy behaviors. They unleash a lot of these spirits to run free upon society. That's what you're looking at, and that's acting out through people, but it's these spirits in these people. How you doing, Gerald? Okay. Whether you view these sources as spiritual entities, destructive thought forms, unhealthy energetic patterns, or a combination of all three, they result in the same. It doesn't matter what you want to call them. We can call them by different things, but the fact of the matter is it impacts you. Whatever you want to call this. You can call it energy, you can call it negativity, we can call it spirits, you can call it whatever. But we do know that they exist and they do impact you. They feed on dysfunction. They feed on confusion. They feed on emotional instability. They feed on people remaining unconscious. You'll see these spirits act in your family, and some of them, some family members you might be able to help, but then you have some family members that they're still holding on tightly to programming. You might have to cut them out, distance yourself from them. It happens. So, and it's not a good feeling. Always, this ain't gonna be all the way love and light over here. Okay, you might have to get rid of some people because I keep in your mind people come with spirits. They can disrupt your practice, they can disrupt your energy. This is why you see most seasoned practitioners, they don't have many friends. That's why them ancestors got you sitting over there by yourself and got you being quiet because they know this. Okay, that's why they telling you to leave that girl alone, leave that boy alone, leave them alone. Okay. What a divine, spiritual, positive energy blessing. I get some dive love from your knowledge of facts. Thank you so, Arvid. You're welcome, Lamar Curtis. And so again, you know, that's why your ancestors telling you stay away from them. Leave that boy alone. Leave that girl alone. Leave that man alone. Leave that woman alone. People come with these spirits, and some of them hold on tight to them too. You seen it on the Matrix, okay? Them people turn into Mr. Smith. Them people turn like that on you, especially when some of these religious people. You try to talk to them about anything spiritual, honey. They'll keep them people hurt you in the name of Jesus and swear Jesus that's wanted them to do that to you. You know I ain't lying, okay? They'll hold on to these spirits, just that tight. And you have some family members. It could be your sister, it can be your mother, it could be anyone. And it is, it's not it doesn't feel good because now this sometimes they don't want to change the behavior. They want to be able, and you'll have them there too. They don't like to be, they would tell you you make them uncomfortable because you ain't the same. They wish you was the same because they want to be able to do raggedy stuff. They just that's uncomfortable for them that you ain't participate. They don't want to be around you if you're not in that role, and you'll have to distance yourself from some of them because they want to see you in the same role. They don't know who this new you. That's why when you get on this journey, you're going to be successful. The majority of the people that support you is people that don't know you. It's not going to be your family and your friends because they got you in a role they can't get you out of. So don't expect them to, to accept your spiritual journey, to support your endeavors or anything like that because they had a role that you're supposed to be in. And how dare you get out of it? I'm going to turn into Mr. Smith every time you try to do something, that's not in the role. Okay? That's what you're looking at. Not you're going to really start looking at your mother, your father, your sisters very differently now. Okay, it happens. Not gonna be all feel good and all that. You're gonna mature. You're gonna grow up real fast when you get serious about this. You're gonna do some growing that you didn't know you needed to do, and you're gonna really to start taking care of yourself. I'm not talking about getting your hair and nails done either. I'm talking about taking care of the inner you. You ain't been doing that. You've been letting people run crazy with you or play with you. You've been doing that. And some people gonna get mad because you won't let them play with you. They're gonna actually get mad because they can't use you, abuse you anymore. They're gonna say you acting funny. Keep acting funny, okay? Keep doing it. You're doing the right thing. Because they're not able to that thing in them. Are they doing this purposely? Some of them are not. They're just unconscious. And they've normalized a lot of these behaviors. Are some of them willing to change? Some of them, if you place the boundary and say, "Hey, I don't do that anymore. I do this right here. I'm gonna be doing it this way." No. And so if you want to get in contact with me, or this is what I'm doing now because I find this works better for me. Remember, you're not placing a boundary with them. You're doing it for yourself because you know your energy don't operate like that no more. Okay. They can either respect that or try to force you to get into something that you don't want to do. But the boundaries for you. When you start doing that, so I but I'm not letting you. No, I'm not loaning out money anymore, because that's putting me in the bind. I don't need to be doing that. No, I don't have the money. What I'm giving you money for, you're an adult. I don't feel comfortable doing that. I'm not gonna do that no more. Okay, it's about you. But because they can't get the money out of you no more, they're gonna get mad at you. It ain't about you. It's about me not giving you the money no more because I don't like the way I feel about that because it don't make no sense for me to be doing it. Now, if you taking that person, so you was just using me for my money. So you get a chance to see who doing what to who. Okay? And some of you already know, you just don't want to be strong enough to do it. Some of you are willing participants in that, and you're afraid of what people gonna think and how they feel. That's not your responsibility. That's their responsibility. They have to figure out why they're doing what they're doing. Why it makes them mad and upset because you want to take care of yourself. They said they love you, so why wouldn't they want you to take care of yourself? That don't make sense. You say you love me, but you don't want me to take care of myself. What the hell? Yeah, they got to figure that out. And you have a right to say no, it's your life. They got to figure out why they mad because they can't control your life. That's for them to figure out, not you. That's not your problem. You have no control over other people's feelings or their minds. They have to sit down. I've even asked them, why you mad? Because I don't want to do that. I don't like the way that made me feel. Why you upset? Ask them that question so they can get somewhere and sit down and think about it. Maybe that's something you need to ask yourself. You need to think about. Why you mad at me? Because that don't even make no sense. This is my life. This is my choice. So why you mad at me? That don't make sense. Ask them that. You give them some time to self-reflect. You ain't got to argue. Just ask them that. Like, I don't understand why you mad. Okay? This is the way you protect yourself. You keep yourself covered. You're not pointing fingers. You're placing boundaries, loving boundaries with yourself. And the sooner and the more firm you can do that, the more respect and love you having for yourself, and you're showing other people how to love and respect you. Okay? Even this new trend of celebrating pettiness is often disguised as something harmless or entertaining. Yet many antagonizing behaviors are rooted in energies that seek conflict, reaction, and discord. We have become so accustomed to dysfunction that we often laugh at behaviors that are actually destructive. We sometimes we think it's funny. That's just like the Bad Girls Club. The baddies, I mean, this girl just fighting them spirits and them people, them disorderly spirits. They just got them fighting each other. And it doesn't help that Station Zeus is being accused of working with dark occult spirits. But that's what they got. That's what that people love to see. The fighting, the pettiness, back and forth, these women hurting each other. I mean, that they say they purposely not feed them and have them sit in rooms for hours and sometimes getting them drunk, making them fight. What do you think that is? And you're entertaining it. It's some same spirits. You're interacting with that, but you don't see that. I mean, it's a guilty pleasure, but this is what they're doing. That this is how they taint you. This is how they taint you. This has become their pastime. We have normalized dysfunction where we beat up each other, women beating up each other for stupid stuff. It don't even make no sense. We just fighting. They just fighting each other. So stupid stuff. It don't make sense. And they make good money off this. And some of us are watching it and are very amused by it. Sit with that for a minute. Because that's the same thing that the colonizers used to do to us. They made us fight each other and do all kind of ugly stuff to each other when we didn't want to hurt each other. This the same type of behavior, and it's just getting passed on. Now they have commercialized, put it on TV, and and people love it. This is spiritual warfare. This is what you're dealing with. Just like the young ladies took that girl down there and beat the girl up. I think this in Mexico. Beat the girl up, unalive the girl. And she had no idea them people didn't like her like this. She probably had an indication. Or just like the woman that went out somewhere in Africa with this man and the girl end up unalive. Well, you know them people how them people is. I think her mother said she didn't have a good feeling about him as well. Then you want to run off too, and you think you like these folks, you want to be friends with them and go in secluded areas and don't think they will unalive you. They will. And then say they don't know what happened to you. If we're not properly educating our children either, because you got them, I remember my daughter I was surprised she kept talking about this boyfriend, boyfriend, boyfriend. I just assumed that he looked like her. And when I first saw him, I was just so shocked. I was like, "Oh my God, he doesn't look like us. What's happening here?" And she was like, and I saw this recurring pattern. I said, I guess she's not gonna, date anyone that looks like her. So let me go ahead and inform her. Give her the 411. I had to educate my daughter, hey, look at here, these people is like this. And I don't want you being up in nothing like that, but you better let that boy know. Okay? And then I don't want you around his folks until I met them folks. I don't like that stuff. I don't want you going nowhere by yourself with him by yourself. I don't want that. I let her know right, and I was right there front and center. I don't trust them. I remember. Do I think all of them like that? No. But I ain't forget that you got that in you. I know you got that in you. You better remember that. I'm not saying all of them like that, but you better remember. They got that in them. They got that hurtful spirit in them. Okay? Earth is a place where energy is the currency. Your attention is energy. Your emotions are energy. Your focus is energy. Your time is energy. Your life force is energy. That's what this is about. Everybody is trying to get, when it boils down to it, somebody is trying to get your energy. That's what it's boiling down to. This is a place, and they willing to pay you good money for it, and they really don't pay you enough money for your energy at these jobs. That's what this is about. Energy harvesting. This is about getting humans caught up in their jobs, their corporation, and stealing their energy and using money as a currency when really money is a not enough money to pay you for your time, for your energy, for your time. It's really not enough. Okay? That's what this is about. Everybody's trying to do it's a false money is a spin off from the energy, from the time energy of currency. It's just a spin off of that. But it's really about your time, about your energy, about your focus, your attention. Okay? Once you truly understand this, you begin making different choices. You become more mindful about who has access to you and what has access to your mind. You're going to be guarding your mind. You're going to be guarding the people that you entertain. You're going to be guarding that. Okay, that's why, and you probably might even end up too. I got a lot of people say, "I'm alone." Well, you're not alone. You always got your ancestors there. You always got spiritual allies there. Okay, and them spirits need you sitting there by yourself so you can recognize who you are. And you probably don't need to be around these people. And if the people don't know the power of their mind and emotions, because they can be hating on you, and that spirit, again, you got some spirit sabotaging you. It's your friend the whole time. They don't like you, they jealous of you. So anything they think about it, and it just ruins your plans. That's why you too, when you start doing this work, keep your mouth closed. Don't show people your altar. I don't care what people showing you about their spells and their altar here. Let them do that raggedy stuff. Let them do that. Okay, if they want to show all that stuff, let them do it. But you don't do that. People need to wonder about your practice. Nobody should be knowing if you practice hoodoo. Nobody should know that. Not unless you're doing work for them or you're being forthcoming. They're close enough to you to know that. But this is nothing that we advertise and talk about and tell people we do. That's not done. The more discreet you are with it, the better your practice gonna be. Cause you ain't got to worry about nobody throwing nothing at you because they don't know if you practice or not. They're not gonna know if they practice in case not unless they throw something at you or you choose to divulge their information. Nobody should be knowing it. I don't go around bragging. I try to be as discreet as possible about my practice because I don't need them to know that. The element of surprise is what gives you the leverage in your work. They don't need to know that. They really don't. They don't need to see you coming. They don't need to know what you got going on. The safer you gonna keep yourself when you keep your mouth closed and the more discreet you be. Not by saying I'm a hoodoo practitioner, I can hex you, I can do this. It's always somebody bigger and better than you. You're leaving yourself open to attack doing that. You're leaving yourself vulnerable to be attacked. Even showing your work and what you're doing and stuff like that. They don't need to know that. Showing your altar, they don't need to know that. There's nobody business but you and your spirits that is sacred. That is, you don't do that. But that's become popularized now because people want you to show you they altar, and people do it too. They want you to show them a spell, and people's magic is their own. Just because that spell worked for them, it doesn't mean it's going to work for you. Your ancestors probably want you to do their work a different way. Your magic could be with water, it could be with fire, it could be with earth, it could be totally different. Your work may look totally different, and then you don't know what spirit they working with to get their work done. So again, there's a lot of things missing here, and nobody's asking any questions because they're not fully educating themselves about the practice. They're trying to learn our videos. Hi, Anita. They're trying to learn our videos. They think they're learning a lot, and I'm telling you, I've been studying this for over 10 years. And if anybody been following me, they know this is something that you sit down, study, and learn, especially when it comes to ancestral veneration and it comes to building your practice. Because you have to find this is about finding out what works for you, not following nobody else's magic, but reading about it and seeing what parts of this work resonates with you that you're going to tap into your own magic. What somebody else do may not work for you. You're gonna find that too. That's why you will see people, they try with these spells. Some of them fail, some of them don't work, some of them work. But it'll work better if you got somewhere and sit down and study for yourself and understand the components, the working components to hoodoo. And understand spiritual warfare before you start picking stuff up because magic is spiritual. Most magicians, I will say this again, most practitioners are working with spirits. I've helped you understand that. I've broken that down for you. I don't know anyone over here picking any of this up, not working with spirits, a saint, an angel, a deity, an ancestor, some sort of elemental force or a spirit. You're gonna be working with a spirit. Okay? Yep, but dummies think they know. You are gifted. Others have skills, but stop. You are not the one. Okay? So again, slowing down, understanding spiritual warfare. So don't think that hoodoo you get up in here, a spell is not spiritual. Yes, it is. You're gonna see that over. If you get somewhere and sit down and read and start educating yourself, you're gonna see this. You see this in hoodoo, in these hoodoo materials, we're working with spirits. We're working with angels. That's what that book of the 6 and 7 books of Moses about. We're working with angels. We sometimes work with the spirit of Moses. We work with the spirit of High John. So we work with spirits over here. We work with crossroads spirits. So how you thinking you just doing a spell and you ain't working with no spirit? Yes, you are. And if you want to learn how to communicate with these spirits, your mind have to be right because most of these spirits, just like these lower vibrational spirits, deal with you with negative thoughts. The angels and these high vibrational spirits going to affect you with higher thoughts. You'll be coming up with magic. They'll be showing you stuff. You're no longer on that lower frequency anymore. You can no longer vibe with them people that's on that frequency anymore. That's why you got to separate yourself from that. Because you can't dumb yourself down. You can't go back to that no more. But once you start working with these elevated spirits, such as the saints and the angels and your ancestors, they're gonna be showing you work. You're gonna be putting stuff together because now your mind is getting more clear. Now you're understanding how this works, and now you're able to put your own spells and things together that work for you because you've done the work. You've done the elevation in your mind and in your emotions. Wow, Papa Legaba, are you idiots? I don't know what you're trying to say there. I don't know if I'm understanding it right, Anita MC1R. Okay, so again, making sure that you stay elevated. You want to get to a higher consciousness, you want your magic to be better, you're going to have to get your mind right. You want to be able to communicate with your ancestors, elevated ancestors, you got to get your mind off this lower vibration because they function at a higher consciousness. Now you got some people that working with family members, they got family members on their altar, you're working at a lower vibrational consciousness. It's only so many things they're going to be able to do with you. That's why I discourage putting family members on there because what I find, I just did a reading like this the other day. This girl had a spirit on her. Uh, and I saw it plain as day when she started telling me what's going on because I'm going to pry if you come in for ancestors reading and you're trying to get your reading going. Because soon as I get the prime, the elevated ancestors, they instantly start telling me what's wrong. And so she was telling me, and I was asking her, what you got on the altar and all that. And I was like, you got family members up there? She was like, yeah. I said, you got to take that off. That's where that's coming from. And then she had some stuff mixed up on her altar. Do not mix up Parthenons on altars. Don't do that. If you got an angel altar, that's for the angel. If you got a saint altar, that's for the saints. You got an ancestor altar, that's for the ancestors. Do not mix them up. If you got a altar to the Netaru or the Egyptian Pantheon, that is for them. We don't mix. If you got a altar to Oshun, that is Oshun altar. Oshun altar don't go on the ancestor altar. We don't mix that up. We don't mix that up. They stay separate. Spirits got their own vibration, their frequency, their own house. You can cross yourself up real quick. Okay. Oh, okay. So again, I don't know what they're saying. I don't know what you're saying, Anita MC on 1R. But again, we don't mix those up. And so she had the and once you get a family member up there and you get to venerating them, people have a hard time. I have a hard time of getting them to recalibrate it. I think it be the grip on these unhealthy ancestors that be on them like that. They still call up in the family dysfunction. Usually they haven't did any shadow work. And so they're still caught up in some of the programming of the family. And so I was telling her, hey, you got to take that down. You're going to have to recalibrate that altar and come in contact with healthy ancestors. That's why you're confused. And it even came out in her reading. Her ancestor, elevated ancestor, was telling us you got to take that down because the ancestors that you got, I'm not blaming them, but they're not well enough for you to work with. And instead of it's a reciprocal relationship. You're feeding them now. They're not doing anything for you but feeding off you. They're not going to be able to help you because they couldn't even help themselves. Whatever, you're going to have to let that go. Now you can pray for them and things like that, but now you need to work with elevated ancestors. And she was like, I know. She said, but every time you say that, I feel what she say, I don't know why I feel this negative spirit. I said, because they don't want you to do that. What the hell, girl? They don't want you to do that. Of course you're not gonna feel good about it because you've been working out of dysfunction with this altar for so long. So when I tell you something right, it's gonna feel uncomfortable because you have normalized the dysfunction. You got to take that off. You're not gonna. That's why you're foggy. You get confused every time I say this. because this spirit doesn't want to be taken off the altar because you're feeding it. Of course, it's going to be uncomfortable. That's why you're feeling that. Take that off, cleanse yourself, recalibrate your altar, and put in elevated ancestors. And then I have people to say, well, I don't know that, what about their names? You don't need to know their names. They know you. You worried about the wrong stuff. They will let themselves known to you. Now, if there's family members that want to work with you, they'll come to you. Believe me. When you call elevated ancestors, and if they're well enough, they're gonna come. Okay, if you choose to work with them on down the road, you can work with them. But most family members, they're not going to help you with everything. They'll help you with specific things. They don't have that sort of privilege and liberty and freedom as do the elevated ancestors. You'll even get some people say, I work better with my unknown ancestors than I do my known ancestors. They do more for me. And so all family is not ancestors. That doesn't mean that either. So you'll have some people thinking that all family, no, not all family members are ancestors. That's why we call on our most elevated ancestors. So, watch out if you got family members up there on your altar. I'm giving you a gem right now. And I've talked about this before. I don't see how people get it wrong, but if you got family members up there and you see your practice is stagnated, it's not going anywhere, it's just you're not communicating with your ancestors, you're not sure what's going, recalibrate your altar. You're not disrespecting your ancestors. They're just not well enough. They need time enough to rest. Okay? Some of them couldn't even show up for us in our physical life because they had their own stuff going on. Right now, they just need prayer, and we need to work with the most well ancestors. Okay? So really look at the ancestor altar and see what's up there. A lot of people don't like this part, and it's like the young lady. I hope she did it. I always wonder, but I always tell people, hey, after reading, follow up with me and let me know how that goes. And usually, if they do it, because I've seen it happen in our community, we had 2 or 3 people like that in our community, and once they recalibrate their altar, the communication got clear. They felt clear. The communication got clear with their ancestors. Their readings got better. Okay, so it will clear some things up because what we need to be speaking with here of the ancestors. You begin protecting your peace. You begin protecting your spirit. You begin protecting your emotional well-being, and this is often when spiritual warfare intensifies. It's going because those spirits don't want to see you at peace. Hi, Mississippi. Them spirits do not want to see you rest. They want you are fighting against these spirits. They don't want to see that. And some of them be working through your family, some of them be working through your children. And it's hurtful. Believe me, I get it. I have them working through my family and I have them working through one of my children. And it does not feel good. Okay? And some of these people don't want to fix their own regular behaviors. They don't want to fix their insecurities. They want to put you in that same role because they don't want to have to look at their own selves. Okay? It's gonna happen. Ain't nothing you can do. Don't think you can appease them. Don't think that you can allow them to hurt you and use you because you ain't doing them a feeding that thing inside them. You're not longer working. You're not no longer looking at your brother, your sister, your daughter. Now you're looking at that thing that's using their body and them not wanting to take the responsibility and get well because they don't want to deal with their insecurities. That's what you're gonna see that's gone now. Okay? And some of these kids they think they entitled. You're gonna see a lot of that go on. And some of us are already in spiritual warfare. Mm, you can DM me on TikTok or Instagram. Let me give you my email address. I don't know if it's gonna show up in here, but that's what you're gonna run into. Now it's gonna intensify when you see the spiritual warfare coming and this start happening. Do not be alarmed. You already know how to. If you, especially in our community, now if they begin to injure you, if you're injured in any sort of way, of say somebody's stealing your money or they continually want to gossip and won't stop, because that can really be that can really mess you up. So if they continue to gossip and won't stop, they're trying to use you, suck your energy, then you want to start looking at some protection work as well. Okay. You want to start looking at some protection work as well. Okay, that's when you're gonna start to really get. You're gonna really understand. And that's why I say you might not have to do no real spells in here. You're probably in spiritual warfare and don't know it. And once you start protection and cleansing yourself, your life will start getting better. Sometimes this is the problem. Sometimes we in spiritual warfare and we don't even know it. And once we start cleansing ourselves and taking care of ourselves, our life begins to get better. So when you see the spiritual warfare start to happen, it ain't nothing that you did wrong. It's just these things mad because they can't feed off you no more. You doing something right. Keep going. Is it's gonna hurt a little bit? It might hurt a little bit. Okay, your feelings might be hurt a little bit. But this is the growing time. And it don't feel good, especially it's through family and friends, because they supposed to love us, we supposed to love them. Look at what you see, accept what you see. Don't matter if they your daughter, your sister, your brother, that dumb people got some raggedy stuff in them. Okay? Quarantine yourself. Protect yourself accordingly. And let them that thing know. Look, if you're gonna be having these type of behaviors, you cannot have any access to me. You can't have no access to me. This is what's gonna happen if you continue that behavior with me. Cause I can't let you do me like that. No. You got to start doing that with them. If they don't want to do that, then you have to love yourself enough to not keep putting yourself out there in the line of fire. You have to be strong enough to do that. Okay? So when you see it, do not be alarmed. It's just saying, hey, I'm ascending. Keep on ascending. Don't stop. That's when you get closer to doing your rituals, your cleansing. You just get, intensify that. Because you're going in the right direction and those things are upset about it. Okay, stop participating in unhealthy cycles. Stop feeding toxic dynamics. You stop entertaining relationships that thrive on chaos. You stop giving unlimited access to people who continuously drain your energy. You'll probably have somebody too, and you'll have this, you'll dismiss this too. You'll be ready to do something very important that means a lot to you, that's really going to level you up and grow you. And you'll have that friend or someone who always distract you, want to talk on the phone, who want to take up your time. They draining your energy. Learn how to tell them, hey, I will talk to you later. And you will start finding too, when you have time to talk to them, they didn't want to talk, they don't want to talk to you now. They want to talk to you when you was in the middle of leveling up doing your thing. You got people like that. They'll hold you up and stagnate you and keep you back so they can drain your energy. And some of them get mad, and when you tell them, look, I don't have the time right now, I'll talk to you later. No, they want to talk to you now. Some of them get mad. So watch out for that too, with friends that want to sit up and talk to you all the time on the phone and drain your energy when you in the middle of doing something. Now you ain't got the energy to do what you were supposed to be doing because you've been over there talking to them. Pay attention to that. Okay. You stop giving unlimited access to people that continue to drain your energy. When this happens, some people become uncomfortable. Not because you have changed for the worse, it's because you no longer participating in the role they assigned to you. Family members may become offended by your boundaries. They will. I seen my sister do it. It tripped me out. I said, just told you I didn't want to do that. I would talk to you on this day, but you just kept on. She said, I know you told me, but I still got upset. I said, oh my God. I said, "Oh." Okay. And so she had that forced her to deal with herself. She was spiraling out of control when I didn't answer because, my spirit guy said, don't answer her. This thing is in her. Don't respect your boundaries. They want to see if you playing and you're not playing. Okay. And I was not playing. And she got a chance to see that thing come up in her. So they get a chance to see their own monstrous ways. Let them do that. They don't have nothing to do with you. It's that thing, they have to deal with that. You're not going to feed it. You're not feeding it any longer. Friends may become upset when you stop overextending yourself. Old relationships may begin to crumble. You'll see that, I saw that doing this work. I started looking at relationships totally different. The roles, society roles they have for men and society roles they have for women, they're toxic. I didn't want to do it no more because I said this is a codependent relationship. It's disgusting. It is a parasitic relationship. I don't want to do it the way they're telling me to do it. I don't want if I got to do it like that, I don't want to do this. I come to find out I should have never been doing it in the first place. Because I don't like nobody, trying to tell me what to do. I don't think men are very good leaders. I've never thought they were very good leaders. I don't want you telling me what to do. Because if you was a very good leader, we wouldn't be where we are now. Women are running households, so that just doesn't make sense to me. Okay, and then when I look at the society dynamics of how these relationships supposed to be set up, they're toxic, they're parasitic. I don't want to be a part of that. Women fighting to be a slave. You fighting to be his slave. If you're following what society is telling you what a marriage should look like, then you're fighting to be his slave, his mommy, his therapist, and all that. Then you wonder why you so tired and why you so mad and all that because they want you to be everything to that man, and they don't want that man to be everything to you. You're trying to be everything to that man. I didn't like that. So, you might, depends on how much you're growing in here. You're going to start looking at things from a different perspective when you start looking at your energy and how it's being harvested and used. People may attempt to provoke you back into the old behaviors because they benefited from the previous version of you. You seen that with a lot of men too, even with the dynamic shift between men and women. Women are saying, "No, we don't want to do that no more. We don't want to have no kid. We don't want to do that. We won't do that. We won't do that." And men say, "How dare you don't want to be my slave no more? You getting out of line." Some men they going into that. The Bible say, they're going into that. So they don't like that old version, and you will see that happen. The programming is dying out. Okay, it's failing. And so those spirits that would do anything they can to keep you ignorant. And that's when a lot of men are up under this program and they don't even know it. Bless their heart. Somebody done told them that was the center of the universe and it was just a lie. I'm so sorry y'all got to deprogram that. Y'all got to take that up because some people lied to you and told you was the center of the universe and you are not. And I know that's hard. That's a big ego thing for y'all. That's a big ego death that y'all gonna have to deal with. I'm sorry they told you that, but I don't even know why you would think that because you don't even have children. You don't birth children. Now they got you, now y'all want to act like us. You don't want to be who you is no more. You want to act like us. You want to try to match our energy. Something wrong with that. You probably want to think about that. But everybody being misled and miseducated. That's why it is the way it is right now. Okay, so a lot of these programmers we have to get out of. Okay, many people are simply unconscious. They do not understand how their wounds, projections, and fears and emotional patterns affect others. But there are also individuals who know exactly what they are doing. It's some people that do that. Okay? They're very manipulative. They know exactly what they're doing. They know how to execute their bad behaviors onto others. Okay? They feel entitled to your attention, your labor, your emotional energy, your wisdom, your spiritual gifts. You even will have people to play victim. I get that all the time. They will play victim or try to make you feel bad about your past so they can continue to misuse you. Now, you might get this with your children. You didn't change, you're not doing that anymore, but they constantly bringing up your past. The way, well, I can't change that, but I can help you do change now. Now I'm not doing that. So I'm not going back living with you. Some people, they want you to go backwards with them. They don't want you to be changed. They always bringing up your past and all that. Leave them people alone. It's like I say, this is gonna be. It's not gonna be all love and light and happy. But you will heal. You will learn. You will grow. You will gain wisdom. When you stop providing access, they become angry because the energetic exchange they depended on upon has ended. This is often when a cord cutting becomes necessary. You might need that walnut bath or do a candle ceremony with cord cutting. Sometimes healing requires distance. You might have to go no contact or low contact with people. Like you're gonna be by yourself sitting somewhere sitting down over here. You ain't gonna be around a whole bunch of kumbaya and all that stuff. That's not gonna happen over here. If you think that's gonna happen on your spiritual journey, you sadly mistaken. Them spirits gonna have you somewhere sitting down looking at yourself. You ain't gonna be around a whole bunch of people. You ain't gonna have no whole team of people. That's gonna be very rare and in between. So if you don't like sitting by yourself and you don't like self reflection, you probably ain't gonna like this. You probably ain't gonna like it. Probably ain't gonna like this. And sometimes healing requires boundaries. Sometimes healing requires grieving relationships that no longer align with our growth. You might have to walk away from some relationships. And some of us in dysfunction relationships, and we don't have the strength to walk away. We come up with all these excuses. I was there, been there, done that. But my thing with that, I was like, why am I in this? I didn't understand why the hell I was in there. I don't understand why I'm in this. Why am I choosing this? And it didn't make sense until I started doing the shadow work and looking at a relationship with my family members, looking at the abuse, and I said, I was trained for this. I'm wired for this. That's where I'm vibrating at. So if I keep vibrating it, that's what I'm gonna get. I'm gonna have to level up if I want this to stop. I'm gonna have to change the way I think. Okay. So if you have raggedy family members and stuff like that, you're gonna find yourself in raggedy relationships because that's what you're vibrating on. That's what you was conditioned to be in. Dysfunctional relationships. And some of you will get out and go in and you think you don't like your mama, you'll go in a relationship and get with a woman that's just like your mama. You don't like your daddy, you're gonna go out and you ain't healed or none of that. You're gonna go out and get a relationship just like your daddy. It's gonna be just like your dad or your mama. Probably already in one like that. You don't know it. I don't know what you're saying right there, Nita. I don't know if this self correction is messing up your comments in here, but honey, I can't make sense of none of that comment you just left there, honey. I'm here with you for a reason. Raggedy needs to go away. Okay, I got it now. So again, you're gonna see that, and we have normalized raggedy stuff. And I can't tell you how my nervous system has healed so much since I've been out of the United States. My nervous system has healed a lot. It's still healing. And I was able to gain more awareness getting out of the country because I'm like, oh my God, like I didn't see that while I was there. But now that I'm here, why am I seeing this? And it's because the people are different here, the vibe is different here. So I'm able to bring in more clarity and see from things from a other perspective. So, and I know it's going to be hard there, and I don't, you know, I don't like that for you, because they've made it harder to really work on yourself and keeping yourself in good vibes. Gateway, hold the gates. Okay, it makes it harder, and people, and it does nothing but promote more raggedy behavior. What's going on over there, and I don't like that for you. And I do understand. I hear people say, Miss Penny, is so hard. I know it is, but the more you can sit with yourself and stay to yourself and focus on making you happy, the easier it's going to be. Okay. Sometimes healing requires grieving relationships that no longer align with your growth. And yes, sometimes those people are family. It may be your mother, it may be your father, it may be your sister, it may be your brother, it may be your cousin. And you might just come from a dysfunctional family where it's just betrayal all around. Okay, you can't fix that family. You cannot fix them. That's not what you do. Your job is to fix you and start moving stuff out of that bloodline that's working through you. Their job is to come to that same realization. You can't save them. They have to want to become conscious. These are some of the most difficult lessons on the spiritual path because they require us to choose truth over comfort and alignment over familiarity. However, our ancestors created hoodoo to address such energies in their environment. Our ancestors understood that everyone and everything has their own vulnerabilities, and shadow work provides us the opportunity to explore the weaknesses and to learn to prevail over negative influences with the power of hoodoo, cleansing, protection, and healing, and calling on our elevated ancestors, which helps us in adjusting our own behaviors. Hoodoo spiritual technologies are ways to deter or prevent future occurrences. By doing shadow work and self reflection, we examine the causes that brought forth the negative people, events, or forces. We find enough knowledge to avoid future encounters. That's why we're doing this. Is going to help with our discernment. You say you want help with discernment and all that. Stop being infatuated with people. That's one thing too, because we get infatuated. We know more about Lil Wayne. We know more about Tiana Taylor. We know more about Rihanna. We know more about them people lives than we knew about ourselves. Be infatuated with yourself the way you infatuated with some of these people. Know yourself better than you know these people. That's going to get you far. Don't be a follower, be a thinker. Understand what people are saying. Just because everybody is doing it doesn't mean that it's right. Okay? Without spiritual cleansing and protection, even minor annoyances will attract negative energies that will ultimately enter your home. We all have had resistance that affect our psychological well-being, such as having a bad day, traffic backups, lack of cooperation from others, delay or resistance in plans, minor health problems. So making sure you're cleansed. Another thing too, if you're doing hoodoo and you're doing this in your practice, to make sure it's your house. I have a lot of people that can't practice this because they're not in their own home. They're living with someone. So they're restricted at how they can practice. You're going to have to be very creative with that and very discreet. Don't try to change anyone to your beliefs, especially if you know they're religious. You need to just be discreet and find out how you can do your practice discreetly. Because when you do that, you're going to go into spiritual warfare. It's better if you keep it discreet and mind your own business if you're living with somebody else. Don't try to change them. They are in the program and all of that. Let them stay with that, or you're gonna put yourself in spiritual warfare you're probably not prepared for. You just need to focus on protection and keeping your energy clear. Maslow was correct, but it hurts for the struggling. Yep. And you'll see a lot of that Maslow. I think it's in one of our, I think it's in two of our spiritual books that Maslow chart is in there. But you have got to get your energy together and start speaking life over yourself. I mean, you got to put on, like the Bible said, the full armor of God. Your words, your mind got to be together. Your actions, your behaviors got to be together. You got to show them things. Okay? So making sure that, you are cleansing and you're protecting yourself. If you got somebody in the house, you living with somebody, you're gonna have to spiritually protect them too. If you're sharing a space with somebody, you got your own house. Think about your spouse, because if something going out, break out spiritual warfare in your house, where your spouse being? What spirits are with your spouse? What they're bringing in the house with them? Making sure that your house is fortified and that you got stuff put down before you even start doing hoodoo. That's number one. And paying attention, who you might have, the person that you in a relationship with, you might have to get them spiritual baths to do and things like that, because you don't want them bringing stuff into the house either. You have to think about all this when you start practicing this, because these people will attach themselves to spirit. I mean, spirits would attach themselves to people, and you be wondering what's going on. You got all these negative thoughts going on, and your boyfriend or husband just come in the door. And they ain't talked about that day, but they probably had a bad day with it. Well, they didn't bought the thing in there with them. And now the thing attacking your mind, and now you having all these negative thoughts and you don't know where it come from. I have a lot of people, they miss that too. They be like, I ain't been nowhere with you. I have to ask them, is you married? You got cook kids? Where they been? Oh, well, girl, there's got to be something with them. You either need to cleanse them or you need to go ahead and open the front door and tell them things to get the hell out of there. Now, I've done that sometimes. And I feel like somebody boss. I have actually opened up my front door and said, "Get the hell out of my house. I don't know who you is or what you is, but get the hell out of my house. You're not welcome here." And after I do that, I feel a lot better. I ain't having no more negative thoughts. But you have to remember this too when you are doing this. If you have children, if you have a husband, you have to you're spiritually responsible for everybody in that house now, keeping it cleansed, making sure they're cleansed. Yeah, this comes with the work, because you want to make sure you're clear. So when you get ready to do your work, uh there's no resistance in there. Okay, so now that you know what spiritual warfare look like, it look like intrusive negative thoughts. Now when you come in contact with higher beings, you're gonna always coming up with creative ideas. You always gonna be coming up with ways how to make money. You always gonna be coming up with ways how to collaborate with somebody. Those are kind of ideas. That's when you know you are in a high vibration, you're in with higher intelligence. If you're working with lower vibration, you're thinking of jealousy, how you're gonna compete. That's how your mind is. But once you come in with high vibrations, you come up with endless ideas and creativity, art, and all that stuff on creating abundance, prosperity, and happiness. So your mind is gonna stay there. That's what you want. But if your mind is full of intrusive thoughts and negativity, and then you just feed your mind full of crap and all that stuff, then you're not vibrating high. You're gonna know when you're vibrating high, because you're gonna be coming up with creative ideas and things all the time. Okay. And the best way to do that, like I said, when we get you over there, we get you working with angels. Okay. So if you're dealing with this, remember, if you're having a bad day at work or whatever, it's making you feel funky or whatever, go ahead and take a spiritual bath. Okay, if you can't do that, spray yourself down with Florida water, but some cleansing need to be coming on, going on. We don't want to bring those energies in the home with us, especially if this is the place where we do our magic. Okay, if this is not your home and you're trying to do magic in that home and it's not yours, then you're gonna have to be discreet about what you're doing, especially if that person is religion and you know if they found out it wouldn't be good. We don't need any resistance in our work. And I kind of don't recommend it either, because like I said, spirit comes with people. So you might be trying to do some work at their house and it won't work because the spirits that's in the house that's with those people. Yeah, you really think about your work, think about what you're doing. Okay. So think about who you're interacting with, how you feel when you're around people, and listen to your intuition. Okay. Keep in mind that not only does negativity attract negativity, but negative forces seek out the situations and circumstances that provide an opportunity for them to enter and insert themselves in our lives. By avoiding what appeals to them and providing both an atmosphere and an attitude that repulse them, the following techniques and positive stimulation will not only improve your overall health. Okay. This is a decision. Playing good music, high vibrational music. Spirits don't like that. They don't like when you're playing high vibrational music, any gospel or anything that puts you in a happy state. They don't like that. And spirits, good spirits are attracted to high vibrational music. Music that make you feel good, you're inviting in good spirits. So it's just easy ways to do this. Burning and saging all the time, that prevents a lot of the crud from coming up in there. So it's little small adjustments that you can make to keep your environment clear. I used to like burning candles and lowering the lights in the house. It generates a sort of peace. It shifts the energy into a peaceful state. I love that. Okay. So ascension does not always feel good. Awakening is not always pleasant. Sometimes awakening means seeing clearly for the first time. And when you see, and what you see may challenge everything you thought you knew. Yeah, it's not gonna feel good. This is one of the reasons I strongly encourage people to focus on protection, healing, and shadow work. Focus on that. Okay. Many people leave this world carrying the same. When your family members pass over like that, and I know you think they're well-meaning people, but some of our ancestors literally worked themselves into a grave. And so I wouldn't want you to put family members on there. You haven't asked them, do they want to do this? You just slap them on the altar and tell them you're going to work for them. No, we're not going to do that. We're going to have them rest, and we're going to call on the most elevated ancestors. We're going to pray for our family members. And if they wish to work with us, we allow them to do so. And we let them choose how they want to help us. Okay. Even with our elevated ancestors, we're petitioning them to help us with our life. They have more strength and power to help you than do family members. And family members, they can, but usually specifically help you with certain things. They're not going to help you with as many things that your elevated ancestors can help you with. That's very rare that they do that. And I'm talking about recent family members. This is why I emphasize working with the elevated ancestors, those who have gained wisdom, evolved spiritually, and operate from a place of a higher understanding and alignment. A strong ancestral foundation matters. A strong spiritual foundation matters. Healing matters, discernment matters, protection matters. Because spiritual warfare is not always about fighting something outside of yourself. Often it is about recognizing what no longer belongs within you, healing what has been inherited, and refusing to pass those wounds on to the future generation. This is work, this is a battle, and that is what true spiritual power begins. Okay? So if you can get that cleansing and protection down, that's good. If you get your cleansing protection and your ancestral veneration, sometimes that is enough to clear out your whole life. You probably won't be doing a lot of spells. You probably won't, you won't find yourself doing a lot of spells. You probably be doing some prosperity work or something like that, or some healing work. But doing a lot of spells and stuff, you find yourself not doing that because you're in alignment. And so when you get in alignment with nature, things start to flow to you naturally. Okay, you'll be in sync with things. And you won't have to do as many spells as you thought you had to do before you start cleansing and protecting. Okay. Sometimes we are not consciously aware of any attacks, such as malevolent people gossiping or talking against us while wishing us harm or even casting spells at us. These malicious thoughts and actions are energies that will ultimately find their way to you and affect your aura. As you result, they produce feelings of discomfort both emotionally and physically. When you're feeling negative and off and everything, know that you, and sometimes we just think we having a bad day. Do not push that off. Okay, if you know your mind is negative and you know you not in a good mood, you under spiritual attack right then and there. Okay, start taking care of yourself. Get somewhere and sit down and be quiet. Try to find out what's going on. Therefore, it is a good policy to always be consciously aware of your thoughts, your energy, its maintenance. I highly recommend to spiritually cleanse at least weekly while providing daily protection boosters. Okay, so making sure that you have a spiritual cleansing regimen, a protection regimen. And if you're in our community, we have books in there for that. We have a couple of resources, and I think we went over in our last meeting. It's recorded. So if you didn't go see that meeting, go in. If you're in our community, I recorded that meeting, so go look at that. But next month, we're going to go into some more protection and cleansing. You're going to get some more resources to help you with that. And I'm going to give another lecture in there over the material, so you'll gain more insight and more information on protection and cleansing. But this is the most important thing you need to understand about any spiritual practice. You will go, especially, I see it all the time when people start to level up in the sin, and then they're surprised when they under spiritual attack. Why wouldn't you be if you're ascending? You're gonna be under spiritual attack. And things don't want to see you wake up. It's just like Neo in the Matrix when he started to wake up, all them things got start chasing him. It's the same thing. It's the journey of the awakening. It's going to happen. And you are no different. That means that you're doing it right. Doesn't mean that you're doing anything wrong. It means that you are tapping into your power and them things don't like that. Okay, so do not be alarmed when you see this happen. Don't be afraid. Get your protection and your cleansing and healing and stuff together to make you even stronger. It just lets you know you're going in the right path. And it might be through your family, your friends. It's gonna happen. I don't have no control over that. It's gonna happen. It's gonna always feel good. No, it's not. Okay. That's what happens on the journey. Does anyone have anything they want to add here? Any questions they have before I end this live stream? I want to talk about this because we have enough people that's showing us work. They're not showing us telling us about protection and spiritual warfare, what to expect when you jump in here. I see too many people, picking this up and they don't know how to protect themselves. They don't know anything about spiritual warfare and how it's gonna look. And you guys, it's not gonna be ghosts, it's not gonna be goblins. It's not gonna that's not always how it's gonna be. It ain't gonna be like nobody spitting up green stuff out their mouth and their head spinning around. It ain't gonna always look like that. It's gonna look like normal people that with mental disorders, they're calling narcissistic sociopaths and all these other disorders. And if you are depressed, when you're always sad, you are in spiritual warfare. You just some oppressive spirits on you. That's what's happening here. And I'm not telling you to stop taking your medicine. I'm telling you to start spiritually taking care of yourself on top of it and see how things improve. Okay? So that is spiritual warfare. Be expecting that. If when you get in here, and ain't nothing you doing wrong, that means you're doing something right. So don't be afraid. Those things just trying to feed off you, and they can't do it anymore because now you're watching your energy. Linda Blair, that was funny. Okay. So, take care of yourself. This is what this looks like. Now that you know what it looked like, these names that they're going by, narcissist, sociopath, these are spirits operating through people. And why would they show themselves? That takes a lot of energy when they can simply manipulate and deceive people and work through people and get energy that way. They gain more energy. Why would they burn energy when they can gain more energy by manipulating other people and stuff? Now, on rare occasions, they do manifest. Some of them do manifest, but not all the time when they can hide behind people. That's serving them well. So why would they change that? Okay, so that's what you're dealing with uh when you're dealing with that, and that's why hoodoo was created. All right. I'm joking. You're a Patreon this weekend. I'm excited. I resonate with so much. I have been isolating aside from my mom and children. I love it. Okay. So if you're interested in our community, so many people are, you know, getting over there and accessing the resources. We have slowed down a lot. So I know a lot of people love that I've slowed down so they've had time. Okay, welcome. Welcome. If you come over there and join, welcome. We're happy to have you. I've slowed down a lot, so there's giving up people, giving our members a lot the opportunity to really slow down and start absorbing the information. I've come here less doing live streams because I'm so focused on meeting with the meetings in the community. So a lot of the resources we're going over in our meetings, and we have another meeting coming up next week. We have a community meeting, and so I've been really focusing on the community, going over the resources because I'll open up the book in a meeting. Um, on Zoom meeting, and we'll go through the book right there and there. So if you tell me you going through some or you want to look at some, I pull up the resource and we'll go over it right then and there. If there's something particular that you want me to talk about in the meetings, then I'll go over there. So a lot of heavy, deep discussion is going on in the community. I'm not coming here so much because I'm focused over there in the community, making sure our members are able to understand everything, that they're finding everything okay, and listening to them, talk about different topics because that's the way we learn and grow over there. And so, if you're interested in a community like that, please get over there because I'm more interested now in working, with the community because I want you to get results in your practice. I want your practice to be successful. If you have any questions and have anything you want to discuss, I want to be open to discuss that to leave all the confusion out. And of course, we are recording these meetings, so you can always go back and look at a meeting. If you missed it, we'll record it as well. But I love to see you engage and have discussions because that helps us grow. And maybe you have a question or inquiry that someone else is wondering about. So we all just growing and learning and adding to our practice. Okay. All right. Good night, you guys. I hope to see you in the community, and I really hope that this live stream helped you and it took some of the fear out of your spiritual practice. Just knowing that you're just going to be in spiritual warfare. You were born in it. Okay. You were built for this. This is why hoodoo exists. All right. Love, light, namaste.